Welcome to the Here We Go podcast, a place to share your experiences in football programs that players have loved regardless of record or on-the-field accolades. I'm Tom Letson with my co-host, Greg LaCava. And welcome to episode 10 of the Here We Go High School Football podcast. I'm Tom Letson, and I'm here with my co-host, Coach Greg LaCava. Coach, how you doing today?
Doing great today, Coach. Appreciate it. This is awesome. I'm looking forward to this episode, and I look forward to every week when we get to talk about our experiences and have our guests and friends on. It's really cathartic for me.
Yeah, it's really fun. Every guest we have on, with the exception of my daughter, I learn a little bit more about,
Yeah,
because when do we spend 2 hours, just talking and getting to know someone a little bit better, So this is a great way to do that. And again, we have another opportunity, okay, with another guest that has had some joint experiences with us, and we're really looking forward to get into it.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to intro our guest, and he's a very special person in my life for many reasons outside of football. And it's just another one of those things when when you come together with coaching and then these relationships expand for a lifetime. And this is definitely one of those guys that our relationship has expanded, and it'll be, I know, for my lifetime. So without any further ado,
There we go.
I will introduce our guest today. And we are very happy to welcome our friend and close friend and our former assistant coach and coaching colleague, Coach Jack Nascimento, who is affectionately known as Nas, for today's episode of the Here We Go High School Football podcast. Coach Jack is Coach Nas. I'm going to call him Coach Nas. Coach Nas is currently the offensive coordinator at Donovan Catholic, and I believe this will be his ninth with the Griffins in that capacity. We were introduced to Jack in a pretty unique way at Colts Neck in 2013. I had no idea. I didn't know Coach Nas before that. And we had hired Derek Staninsky, who we coached with at Middletown South and had a relationship with, who was a former head coach at Marlboro at the time. He joined our staff, and I was looking for another coach, and he mentioned Coach Nas, and I'm like, and the only question I had is, like, I said to Derek, "Do you vouch for him?" And he said yes. I'm like, "All right, great, I'll meet him." And that's how our relationship sparked. And
Yeah.
Coach had been the offensive coordinator at Marlboro for Coach Staninsky immediately prior to joining us at Colts Neck. And today, we're very interested in talking football with Coach Nas, especially our experiences together at Colts Neck and Holmdel, and also to get into his football history, which is unique. He had his own path, and he's going to share his path with us. When he started playing Pop Warner in sixth grade for the Keyport Indians. Keyport Indians. Whenever I hear Keyport, I cringe because of that first game in Allentown. But anyway, he grew up in Union Beach, where he started playing Pop Warner in the sixth grade. Like I said, he went to St. John Vianney, where he won the starting quarterback job as a sophomore. Coach Nas began coaching as a young volunteer coach at St. John Vianney. After meeting Coach Staninsky, he moved to Florida, which is a unique situation. It was probably an awesome experience. I remember when this happened, to open a new high school football program at Ida S. Baker High School in Cape Coral with Coach Staninsky, who was
Damn.
hired as their head coach. And I give him a lot of credit for packing up here and moving down there in a completely, you never know how it's going to work out.
Coach LaCava, who knows? After this podcast, we could pack up and move down to Florida.
Yeah, right.
Start a program down there. Who knows? Might get some ideas out of this.
Coach Nas also experienced something as a parent and a football player that no parent ever wants to face, and as a football coach, knows can happen in any competitive sport, especially something so with such high impact. On October 11th, 2024, Coach Nas's son Gavin, who I've known since he was really young, then the starting quarterback for Donovan Catholic, suffered a terrible injury, a compound fracture of his tibia and also a fractured fibula, resulted in an extended hospital stay. I think it was like 47 days or something.
Wow.
Multiple operations and serious complications. And I pretty much believe this was the same injury as Alex Smith got. So, Coach Nas can touch on that if he'd like. He's going to give us an update on how Gavin's doing today and share this ordeal because I think it's important for parents to hear his ordeal and how it affects other children, other sons or daughters in this situation, and anything he learned through the experience he thinks may benefit other parents and players and kids with that have faced traumatic athletic injuries. So, without any further ado, Coach Nas, welcome to the Here We Go podcast, my friend.
Hey, good morning, man. This is I appreciate you having me on. This is an honor for me. The amount of football I've learned from the both of you over the years, and now you having me on with your new adventure here. It's an honor, and I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool, man. Yeah. It's great to have you. So tell us what you think about the podcast so far.
I think you guys are killing it. I do. Listen, it's something I look forward to every week. I'm not going to lie. And I could be honest with both of you, which is the relationship we have. And, it's been great. And I've learned a lot more actually about you guys and your experience because I didn't know you during Allentown years.
Right.
So, and, when we meet up and get together, whenever that is, we don't so much talk about Allentown. We talk about Colts Neck. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it comes up with Allentown, but the in-depth and you having some players on and hearing about what you went through there, I feel like I have a similar path with, being at Marlboro for as many years. They had it rough. I mean, Degato's got it going on now, but when I was there with Derek, those were some rough years, and they test how much you love coaching for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one other thing, Greg, we did have 1 year at St. John Vianney together as well.
That's
so
right.
It was Colts Neck, Holmdel, and a year at St. John's. I know that's a blur to you.
Yeah, it was more. I think we forget, but it was my head coaching experiences. But you're right, we did. We kind of veered towards that.
I think we worked it out of the intro because I wasn't there. So we're kind of like talking about the three of us.
He feels left out, so he doesn't want.
I kind of feel left out. Like honestly, we'll let the audience know that you two had a little prep meeting last night over a meal. Okay, and it came nice prepared, and Coach Letson's rubbing two sticks together, trying to make a dinner somewhere. I mean, you know what I mean?
Let's be realistic. Everyone that knows you, food and Coach Letson doesn't go together.
Right. We were eating meat and potatoes. You're plant-based.
And now you two are, you're in food detox right now. You're talking. I'm swollen. I'm this. I'm that. I'm like, what's going on here? Can we go on today? Do we have to cancel, reschedule? Like, what's up?
That's great.
Especially with Greg, you know how he is about his look.
Well, my God.
Hey, we've touched on that a couple of times.
It's getting easier. It's getting easier though. That's the problem. Wow. I don't care. I'm late to shit. Yeah. I'm not, I got a beard. My hair is all over the place.
Jack, this is like Bizarro World in Seinfeld. You know what I mean? Like, really, Greg, jeez.
I'm trying.
Here you go, Let's. Here's a funny one. I hit the train in Red Bank yesterday, right? We had dinner at 6:00. I'm in the car with my girlfriend who we could have been a little late, but thank God. So I'm like, you don't understand. Like, if I'm not on time, I'm going to get a text message at 5:55. Where are you? Right. And then at 6:00, I'm going to get another one asking again where I am. Right. We hit the train. So now we're definitely going to be late. And I'm like, listen, I know Greg, it's going to happen. He didn't text me. He made me look stupid. I show up like 6 minutes late. The guy doesn't bust my chops or anything. I'm like, who are you? Like, I don't even know who you are anymore.
It's great.
It's
great. Because here's why. All these years, Kim used to tell me, you're only hurting yourself. And she's like, I'm right. Like, she's right. Why do I care? Like, why am I driving myself insane?
Right.
Look, there's a good chance I'm going to edit all this piece out. I don't know if we want the ex-players to hear this.
That's true. Right? That's true. And I on just a whim, I took my hat off. I want that out. I don't want anyone seeing my hair. There's no way. No way. I don't know what I was thinking.
That was a crazy moment right there.
I don't know what I was thinking right there.
That was like Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
Yes. I thought the same thing.
Yeah. So I have to make one comment. Jack, I'm loving the gear you're rocking right now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Yeah, yeah, appreciate it. Thank
Is
you.
that when? How is that last year's? Is that a couple years ago? When's
This
that from?
was no this was 2 years ago. The pullover and the hat was this past season. Yeah.
Yeah, as you know, I graduated from Shore Regional, and we used to play Donovan, but they were called St. Joe's back then.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
they were
Wow.
wow.
That's a
They
yeah,
were
long time
St. Joe.
ago.
You
yeah.
know that's still on the building, right?
Oh,
Like
oh no, I didn't know that St.
oh
Joe's.
yeah,
Yeah,
on the football side, over the door that goes into the school right there, it still says St. Joe's High School. Yep.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
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 I remember when I was a junior, we played down there, and I just remember I haven't been there since. So this was in 1981, and
Jesus.
the field was just a mess. I mean it just was a mess. I
Yeah.
can't remember
Well,
exactly, but
yeah,
Yeah.
it
No,
was
it
it
was
was
a
a
sand
mess.
pit. It was
Yeah,
a sand pit. It was
terrible.
actually borderline unsafe, to be honest with you, with
Mm.
because they would seriously fix ruts with sand. it was not good. And when Dan took over, that was one of his things that he wanted changed. He wanted turf. He wanted to figure out how they can get turf and a weight
yeah,
room. Where there's two big things because he just felt like if we were bringing in the caliber of players that we wanted to bring in, we needed to play on a good surface. So
Mhm.
yeah,
they,
man.
they've
So
done a great job changing that facility. So
we want to hear a little bit about that down the line
sure.
here in the podcast too.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
let's get into it, man. We
Yeah.
want to hear about you growing up a little bit in Union Beach, and I have a special interest in this now because, as you know, I live up here in Hazlet for the last 7 years, and so I've gotten to know this area a little bit better. So I know a little bit about Union Beach. I run through there quite often, and I'm really interested in hearing some of your experiences there, and then playing Pop Warner for the Keyport Indians, as Coach had
Sure.
mentioned in the intro, man. So bring us back to Union Beach. Tell us about it.
Yeah, small town, literally went to school. It was K through 8. That was our entire school for the entire town, which is, I live down in Manahawkin now with my kids, and they had a school for every 2 years that they went.
Right.
It was insane. So yeah, it was one small school, small town. Everybody kind of knew everybody. That old phrase. They say you need a canoe for every house you buy there because it floods constantly.
Right.
Oy.
So,
Yeah.
I lived 2 blocks off Highway 36, right there behind Holy Family Church.
Okay.
So yeah, so it was great. Like I said, I had a good group of friends, and then met when I played for Keyport because we didn't have a town team.
Yep.
We merged. You met a lot of Keyport players as well that I became friends with.
Yeah, and for folks that don't know, I mean, Union Beach, yeah, and Keyport, they border each other. They're right on
Right.
top of each other, so it's kind of local. It's local, just really.
Jack,
Yeah.
what high school would you have gone to?
So Union Beach had the opportunity to go to Keyport or Red Bank Regional.
Wow, all the way down to Red Bank Regional. Huh?
Yeah, because and why they never did Raritan, I don't understand why they bypassed.
What about Keensburg?
No, because something with fine arts, I believe. Keyport didn't offer it, and Red Bank Regional did, and it was a regional school. That was the big thing.
Right.
That if you were a regional, you could take other towns in. If you were just a township, you couldn't. You would have to pay, I guess, the taxes for that town in order to do it. So,
Okay.
So those were the two choices. Red Bank, I would have had to get up at God knows what time to get to school.
Right. So you chose a different route. So explain.
My parents chose really. I had, like I said, a good group of friends that maybe weren't as focused on school, and we had a good time.
Right.
And my mom was a cheerleading coach at Holy Family School, is now closed, but she was a cheerleading coach there for my whole youth, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew a lot of those kids, and those parents went to St. John Vianney. She was familiar with the school. She thought it would be the best thing for me. Your parents always want to do better than they did, and they worked 2 jobs to put me through St. John Vianney. And I wish now, looking back, that like most, I took advantage of the opportunities they gave me. I kind of fought it because I felt like I was a public school kid going to Catholic school. So that was hard, an adjustment. But at the end of the day, I made great friends. I still talk to a lot of people from there. So,
Right.
you know,
All right,
it
so
turned out really good for me.
we definitely want to get into your high school experience because there's a lot there. But let's get back to Pop Warner, man, because we are
Yeah.
very interested. I think that people that listen to our podcast about guys who did play Pop Warner and a little bit about their experiences, you know, whether that was positive, negative, or whatever. But you started playing in the 6th grade for the Keyport Indians, you know.
Yes.
Tell us about that, man.
So I was back then it was weight. You got to
Mhm.
remember, right? It's not like
That's right.
now. It's not, you know, 10U, 11U. It was weighted. And I was on the chunky side of 6th grade. So I had to play with the 8th and 9th graders. At that time, you could play, I forget what it's called, older but lighter. If
Yeah,
you
older,
play
lighter.
freshman
Yep.
football, you could play in Pop Warner. Now, Keyport's a small high school. They didn't have a freshman team. So either those kids stayed on in Pop Warner or were good enough to play JV varsity.
Right.
So as a 6th grader, I'm playing against, you know, bigger kids, which it's funny. I talked to the head coach at Donovan now about it, and it taught you how to survive. It taught you how to, you know, you're not the big dog on campus. When nowadays, when you're playing your age group, you know, you don't ever have to struggle sometimes if you're a really good athlete or a bigger kid. Where there, you had to figure out ways to not get your ass kicked, to be honest. You know, you're playing against older kids who have played longer. My parents weren't comfortable with it. I played soccer up until then. And I fought it. And finally they gave in. And I'll tell you, they ran a really good program back then.
Nice.
I believe Coach Stillwell was there. Berlew, Steve Swanee was my coach, Steve Svensson, who, you know, ended up being the baseball coach at a school up north, college, Caldwell, I think. And just great guys, great people, family oriented, tight knit, you know.
And they got it. They understood that they were dealing with young kids, and they
were
coached
hard
to
on
their
you.
level.
Yeah, they were hard on you, you know, and sometimes the parents like that. You know, back then it was they dropped your kid off. They didn't stand at the fence and watch every play.
Right.
They knew that the coaches were going to handle it and you know, and make you a man, so to speak. But they treated you the right way. And they taught you the game. I felt back then they really taught you how to play, and there was a toughness in that small town. You know, especially when you're playing teams like, you know, Ocean and Middletowns, and they're bigger, you know, towns. So we had that us against the world mentality that you have in those small towns. It was cool, and we had a pretty good team. So
tell us about just how well did you guys do?
We did well. We went down. We went down to North Carolina and played. We never won the Pop Warner play, you know, but we played these friendship games where we went to North Carolina and played Raleigh, North Carolina. That was cool. We hosted a team that came from Virginia, where we got the player actually stayed with one of the players stayed with me. Like each kid had a player.
Really?
Yeah. It was pretty cool. Where, you know, you housed the player that came in.
Wow.
So you got to meet them, and then you played, you know. I did play 2 times. My 7th grade year, George Conti was the head coach of Eddie's team, who he was in 8th grade.
Okay.
Out of his mind. Like we had some battles with that. He's legendary, and you know, he coached the same way in Pop Warner as I remember him coaching in high school. But yeah, so I got to play, you know, against one of his teams, which was great.
Wow.
But yeah, it was a great experience, and that's why I think I struggled the first year at Vienna, because I had such great friends, and you know, you want to continue that with your friends going to Keyport, and my parents just thought it was better for me to go to, you know, to St. John Vianney.
So did anyone, like, were you all by yourself when you went to St. John's?
Yeah. I had one other kid from Union Beach, but he ended up playing football but didn't play Pop Warner. So I met him, you know, I knew him, but I played football with him when I got to St. John's. Yeah, I was all by my lonesome.
Wow. Okay. Tell us about, you know, so you go to St. John Vianney, man. Tell us, what was it like?
So here's a good one. So I get to St. John Vianney. And now I was a lineman. I told you I was pudgy 6th and 7th grade. 8th grade, Swanee, who was my travel baseball coach as well, had a pretty good arm. And he's like, I wanted to see how you play quarterback. So I ended up playing quarterback my 8th grade year, my Pop Warner team.
Okay.
And so I went to high school. You would think, all right, I played quarterback. I loved it. But I knew that I wasn't allowed to play defense 8th grade year because I was the quarterback. So you don't play linebacker anymore because you're the quarterback.
Right.
So I was like, I'm not doing that. I love hitting. I love defense. So I went into St. John's and I put down that I was an offensive guard so that I could play linebacker.
Right.
Last game scrimmage before school started against Manasquan, I had injured my neck. I had a fracture in one of the bones in my neck. So I missed the first 3 months of St. John Vianney, to believe it or not. So school opened up in September, and I came back to school in November. I was, I had the neck brace on, and
so as a freshman.
So,
oh man, so you didn't even start the school year off.
No,
wow.
No. So the only kids I knew from St. John's were the football kids.
Yep.
Right.
So I kind of distanced myself from the Union Beach era. Started at St. John's, broke my neck, so it was like a weird time.
That's a tough start, man, for a young kid going to a new school. Yeah.
So tough that my mom, Union Beach, small town, you got a McDonald's there, and, moms feel bad. So I ate a lot of McDonald's because she felt bad I was home.
You were a guard again.
I was a guard again. So the uniform that I was fitted for in September did not fit me when I was going back to school in November. So
that's awesome.
Back to Flint and O'Hara we went to get a little bit larger size of uniform. But
that's crazy.
So that's my freshman year, and sophomore year in the summer, Coach Penta, our quarterbacks didn't show up for one.
Yeah, Jack, what year is this, Jack? Tell us the years.
So 91, I graduated in 95. So 91 football was freshman year. And then, so let me, because this is going to come into all the connections. Pete Meehan, who's the AD at Howell now, a good friend of mine. He was 1 year out of Kane. He coached at Livingston, and then he was a 23-year-old fiery guy. He was my freshman football coach. So that was the first time I met Pete. He was just so happened to be dating a Union Beacher who I knew the younger brother. So we had that connection. Mm-hmm. He was in the hospital when I hurt my neck. He was the only one that came to visit me. And he ended up, they had a fire drill, and he sat there till about 2 a.m. They didn't even realize he was in the room. It was a Monday night football game. It was the Jets Chicago Bear overtime game, if you remember that one, with I think it was Testaverde, and they scored at the end. It was weird. The lineman scored for the Jets. They ran a trick play. It was cool. Mm-hmm. But so I met Pete then. Sophomore year, quarterbacks didn't show up, and Pete knew I played quarterback in 8th grade. He had me throw at a practice, and Penta's like, "You're now with the quarterbacks. This is what you're doing. This is what you're going to do." And I don't know, football came easy to me, way easier than schoolwork, to be honest. It was it's weird, man. Like, as a quarterback, you need to know what everybody's doing and all the plays and terminologies. And it just was very simple for me. Mm-hmm. And I picked up the playbook real well. And, things kind of worked out in my favor. And
what did you guys play?
We were in the B North then.
Yeah.
So we played Matawan with Tyrone Garland. You played those.
Yeah,
guys.
we were playing against. We played against them.
And what offensive?
We were wing
what
T.
offense did you run?
Wing T, baby.
Wing T, Coach Pent, wing T, baby. Delaware wing.
Well, I have
you
to.
ran a
Coach
lot of waggle, huh?
A lot of waggle, a lot of keep pass, Coach.
I got to give a shout out to Coach Meehan, because Coach Meehan was a direct competitor of mine, because he went to Middletown North, and I believe he was a year older than me. And right. So I've known Pete Meehan since high school.
Right.
Right. So
I'm sure your circles probably met at some parties or whatever you had going on.
I don't know. We kind of stayed to ourselves. The North back then, the North and the South did not mix.
That's true.
We did not mix.
That is true. Right. I believe Kaboo was his coach, and then Kaboo left, right?
And then Galos.
Galos
No,
took it
no,
over.
Donnie,
it wasn't Galos. It was
Donnie Ayers.
Donnie Ayers.
Oh, Ayers. That's correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Ayers took over. Galos.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this is not gonna make Coach Meehan happy that his senior year was the first year, my junior year, we beat Middletown North ever. I believe he was on that team. I think he's only a year older than me. Like I think I graduated 87. He may have graduated 86.
86 he graduated.
Yeah. So his senior year at North was my junior year was the first year we beat them.
Oh, that's not going to make him happy.
No, it's not going to make him happy.
When looking at some of the video of that game, it was a mess of a game that was.
I'll never forget that.
The field was just, I don't know if I've ever seen it. I coached there for 8 years. I don't know if I ever, and I wasn't there that day, but just watching that video, I don't know if it's ever been worse.
Chaos.
The swamp was
the swamp was a freaking swamp that game.
It was unbelievable.
And we came out in the single wing because Chip Quazzo was either hurt or I don't know if he was suspended for the beginning of the game. I don't know, whatever it was. But we came out in a wing tee. I'll never forget it. Yeah, it was crazy. Not a wing tee, a single wing.
Single wing.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our connection with Coach Meehan.
Were you the
I was the wing.
Back?
I was the wing.
You were the wing.
Yeah. Yep. Jimmy Ryan.
You were the wing.
Jimmy Ryan was directly behind the quarterback. Mm-hmm. I believe Mike Citarella was in the backfield with him, and I was a wing. I played a wing. So yeah, I remember that. That was crazy. That game was nuts.
Why did Coach Camaforo put that in?
Because Chip Quazzo was hurt.
I understand, but there was no backup.
It was Steve Himmelsbach, but he never stepped on the field, although Steve became a very good quarterback.
Yeah.
But it was Chip Quazzo. He came in, I believe, came in either late in the second quarter or in the second half, and then it was just
I can see Coach Camaforo right now. We're going to run the single wing out.
And we did. We did. You got to watch that film because you can find that on YouTube. It's crazy.
Now, let me ask you, were you running your same plays without the quarterback handing it off to you? Was it basically the same type of stuff you were doing? Like,
no, no, it wasn't that. It was not that. We were, when Coach Camaforo and Coach Camaforo came in, we went to a pro eye offense.
Right.
But when Chip was out, we went to again, I don't even remember because I'm sure it was different, but I just remember playing in the single wing.
That's wild, trying to get that in a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not easy.
Anyway, so that's our connection to Pete Meehan. Sorry, Coach Meehan.
No.
Had to be said. Had to be said.
Yeah, man. Anyway. So keep going on your St. John Vianney experience.
Yeah. So like I said, I earned the starting spot the fourth game into my sophomore year. So
wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, first game I played against was Raritan. That's when they had Matt Semenza.
Yeah, I'm glad you started off with a non-emotional game.
Yeah, but insane, right? That's a rivalry kind of for St. John Vianney. Like that's, we always would mess with their rocket. They would always come over and mess with our Lancer out front. Like it was, yeah. So here I am, a sophomore, and I took a senior spot. So the seniors on the team, and he was a great guy. And a good leader, everybody, he was a good dude, had the team over to his house. It just, things just happened. Right. So it took a bit to earn their respect, and it wasn't normal for sophomores to play when I played, it was still there was no reclassing and all this other stuff. It was, you had to earn your way. There was a pecking order. Your freshman year, you had your own team, sophomore year, you played on scout teams and got tough and figured it out and, carried the bags in and the balls in. And that, that's just the pecking order of how it went. And things kind of went my way and I kind of earned the spot and I didn't give it up. And it was fun. But we played, we had Red Bank Regional, Matawan, Neptune.
Wow.
I had to play against Scott Harley.
What a schedule, man.
Yeah. Long Branch, they had Corley and King. The B North was, pretty good. I mean, I know you played it, you coached at South. That was, but I mean, I went and scouted
B North was
Greg this
tough.
story.
We knew it. Yeah.
Jason Peters, senior year, your first game of the year was against Matawan at your place.
Yeah.
And that place was packed. And we had Matawan on the schedule. And I don't know why did you not have lights? Because it was a day game.
Do we not have lights? No,
No,
we
no,
had lights.
No, we had lights. I think we just had. I think back then, you did schedule for whatever reason some day games once
Was
in a
it?
while.
Did you stagger it with Middletown North? Like if you guys, if one was home, both were home, one would play on a Saturday. I don't know.
I don't
But it
even
was
know.
definitely a Saturday game.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was like the 1-2, man. It was going to go down. And I remember Jason Peters running Charlie Rogers down on a toss and throwing him through the sideline through the track, and he rolled onto the fence. And we're like, that is just a grown ass man. Like that's just grown ass man football, you know? And
What year was that? What year was that? 93?
That was
93 football. 92 football or 93 football?
Because we played Matawan once at their place, and then I guess the following year at our place. We were both 1-2 that year. Because Tom, remember when we played it at it was 1-2 the first game of the year. We played at Matawan. We really beat them up badly.
That was 92. Was the first game of the year.
And then 93 we played at our place.
Yes, we played at our place in 93. And right. I remember. I don't remember the score, but I do remember. You know, I think we did a pretty good job against Charlie Rogers. He was.
Right. Well, they had Jameson was their running back too, if you remember.
Yeah.
Big stocky guy.
I think Charlie Rogers might have been maybe he was a sophomore. Maybe that was his sophomore year.
Correct. He's the same year as me.
Yeah. So I forget the score of that game, but yeah, I mean, yep. We started out as we were on a winning streak, and we started off. I think we might have started off number 1 in the state. You know, I know we started off number 1 in the shore, but that ended up being our worst season record-wise at 5-3-1.
Mm-hmm.
We had a good team, but you know, that's the first time that we didn't have what Greg and I have been talking about. We didn't have a guy.
Right.
We didn't have an offensive guy that could control the game by himself. Okay. And we had a pretty good defense, and we had a couple of really decent returning running backs, but we didn't have a guy either at running back, wide receiver, or quarterback that could take control of the game. That's the first time we experienced that at South.
Yeah,
and,
true.
It was a tough season, but those guys, they fought, and we came back and defeated North because we started off 4-0, and then we lost 3 and tied 1. We tied Neptune at home, Scott Harley.
Wow.
We almost kept, it was in the mud as well. We almost kept him under 100 yards. He got 100 yards exactly that game. In 1993. Coach Amabile was beside himself. He did not want to play that game. He wanted to cancel. It was Friday night. He's like, how can you guys play on this field? He goes, wouldn't tomorrow be better? But yeah, coach, I don't know. Thank God we're home. Thank God we're home.
Right. Well, they had Gonzalez too, right? The quarterback who ended up having a little stint.
I don't know if in 92 he was. I think he might have graduated. I don't know. I could be wrong, but in 92, yeah, he was, he was a factor in our game. That was a big game. We beat them 32-20 at their place. The place was mobbed.
Yeah.
We were number 1 and they were number 2. And, it was a great game.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe he did play the following year too, but I can't remember.
Right. Yeah. It's funny. Now, that year I just popped into my head because I think we have another connection. Was Matt Kucha a player?
A senior. Year? He was a senior in 93.
Yeah, he was a senior.
Because he ended up coaching either with me at St. John Vianney or my senior year. He helped out my senior year. But he came over to Vianney for a hot second.
Was there a South connection over there?
No. I mean, other than Pete being a Middletown guy.
Oh, maybe that's it.
That could be the connection.
Maybe he knew him. I don't know. But I remember him coming over. I think it was one season, but yeah, he was there for a year.
Was it Matt or Chris Kucha?
Who was the receiver?
Matt.
That was Matt.
Okay.
He was our receivers coach. In the wing tee, because we needed a receivers coach.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
6 times a game that we threw the ball. Thanks, Coach Penta.
Right. So take us through your sophomore, junior, senior
Yeah, so
year.
sophomore year, growing pains. Listen, we were 500. It's not Catholic school football like it is now.
Like it is today.
Okay. If you went to St. John Vianney, like my parents thought it was a better education, better place for me to go. Those are the kids you had there. There was no, going out and working the Pop Warner scene and things like that. It's just, I don't even think even up north, it wasn't to that level yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we did okay. B North again my junior year, and those teams are good, man. Madawan. So we were about a 500 team. Senior year we went down to C South, so we played like Point Borough, Manasquan, Allentown. I had a 62-yard run on Waggle against Allentown.
Of course.
That's how slow they were, because I went right down the sideline, and I'm not a blazer. All right.
Right. Yeah, that's great.
Probably one of my best games I had. But yeah, so we competed better in C South. I felt like that's probably where the program belonged.
Mm-hmm.
It was a girls' basketball school, is what it was. I mean, it still is. It's dominant,
Mm-hmm.
And football got better, but back then, we were. But Penta coached well. Like he taught you about life and struggles, and he was a positive guy, and for the most part, his staff was good. There were guys that were with him for a long time. Joe Fitzsimmons, who ended up being the Point Beach coach.
Right.
That was a referee, and I heckle him when I see him.
Right.
He was my quarterbacks coach. Bill Newman was his D coordinator for years.
I think Coach Penta came from Long Branch, I think, if I remember.
Yeah, he ended up, he resigned because he became the principal at the middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, so I graduate. I didn't do for any of the kids out there that are watching this in high school, and when coaches tell you, get your grades, do your grades, it's important. I didn't take care of what I needed to take care of in the classroom. I played in the All-Shore game my senior year. I had an opportunity, to play at Pace and St. Peter's, had a football team then, and in Jersey City. And my grades weren't right. So I took a year at Brookdale, and Coach Penta was nice enough to keep me on, and let me coach, because that's what I brought to the table as a quarterback. I feel like I was a coach on the field for him. I was able to go to the sideline, being a 3-year starter too, and talk to him about what I see and what they're giving us, and talk about the wing T stuff, and him believing in me by my senior year. And
so, Coach LaCava, this is similar to KC. Just graduating and and coming on the staff. Very interesting, man.
Yeah. And I felt like I was good at it, and I loved coaching. And it just so happened my brother was coming in as a freshman when I graduated. We're 4 years apart. So Pent let me take, the freshman team with who's now I guess he's the head of St. John Vianney, Steve DeMezza. And he was the freshman coach, and he let me kind of call the offense with him. And we were 7-0 that year. It was a lot of fun, a lot of good kids. Like, I just fell in love with coaching, to be honest.
And you're coaching your brother.
And I was coaching my brother. Yeah. And then played at Brookdale baseball, because I was going to Brookdale that year.
Yeah, that's right. You played baseball for SJV too, man.
I did play baseball. Yeah, I was a 3-sport athlete freshman year, and then basketball. Listen, you all try to play basketball, but can you really play basketball?
Right.
I think we all love basketball the best, but I think we do.
Right.
But I know Greg loved basketball.
Oh, we played wars. We had wars in high school, man. Right after high school, it was great.
And that was the great thing about Pent. Like, our off-season workouts, like, he would go in the gym. We had an auxiliary gym, and we would have pickup games, and he would play with us. And you know what I mean? It wasn't just weight room and getting on you. Like, when you're in season, you coach differently than the off season. And
of course,
off season is when you get to meet the guys and be personable and let them see a side of you as a coach that isn't that day-to-day grind,
Right.
And that's the fun part, right? I mean, kids get to see a little bit with your hair down. so to speak. And
yeah, absolutely.
Pent was awesome with that. But yeah, so went to Brookdale.
Yeah, wait a minute, man. Wait, don't skip over Brookdale. Like,
Right.
not everybody plays baseball for Coach
In
Johnson
college
at
and in
Brookdale.
college. Yeah.
You know, like this is one of the top community college programs in the nation.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so tell us about that, man. Like, how did
yeah,
that happen?
So again, nobody really knew because I was supposed to go play college football, and I introduced myself. I went over there, and he's like, "Yeah, come on, you know, we can always use arms." I was a pitcher, and came out of the bullpen. You know, did some pitching sessions.
What was your go-to pitch, Coach?
I was a fat high heater
Nice.
with a curveball that dropped off a table.
Like
look at you.
Overhand curve.
Like the Ryan Express?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was coming at you.
So
I pitched like I was playing linebacker. Like I would snarl, I would yell stuff. Like I was out of my mind.
You probably don't remember Al Hrabosky from the St. Louis Cardinals, the mad Hungarian. He'd come out and punch his glove, and it was great, man.
Yeah, I was a mess. I was completely out of my mind.
We have to give a connection here with Coach Johnson, who coached with us at Middletown South before he got that baseball job at Brookdale, and he was a great guy. We loved having JJ on that freaking team.
Oh yeah,
as a coach.
Yeah,
he was awesome.
The thing, this is the thing I remember about Coach Johnson. I'll always remember this because he might have only coached with us one season. I'm not sure, but he did coach with us during, I believe, our '90 championship year. You know, when Stephen Pitts was a senior. But I just remember him watching him coach, and he just had this unique way. You know, he'd be firm. You know, he'd be like firm and definite with the guys, but he would and this is good for young coaches, you know, he would always end. He'd make a correction and he'd say, like, come on, Jimmy, like, this is how you're supposed to do it. Come on, you're better than that, Jimmy. You're better than that. He would always end with that, you know, like, you're better than that, you know, and I always remembered that, you know, he just had this unique way, and the kids loved him. He's
a great guy. He was awesome. And I was a young coach. You know, I was 19, 20, 21 years old. And I remember Coach Johnson, like, I can remember his face, like in practices and game time. I can remember.
Oh, yeah. He had this unique way of making you believe in yourself, but not like pump you up too much. Like you said, like, you know, you're better than that. Like he always was able to, you know, like he had a unique, he was easy to be your coach. So you wanted to play for him, you know? And listen,
absolutely.
He's won a lot of games at Brookdale.
Oh my God.
He put some dudes in college and pro, and boy, he's really, that program is incredible. I mean, people come now to Brookdale to play for this guy, you know, from out of the Monmouth County area.
Yeah, Brookdale's been on the map for some time. You know, he's had a great career.
Big time.
So your baseball journey, man. So take us from Brookdale.
So then I wanted to try something. I had a friend down in Florida, and told my parents, I'm going to play baseball down in Florida. You know, I enjoyed it, and went down there and South Florida, and did the fall ball. And this coach was crazy. Right out of Catholic school, I got the goatee, you know, because in Catholic school you had to be clean shaven all the time. So,
uniforms.
A week before I graduated, till, you know, I was growing facial hair, and this guy was, you know, no facial hair, you know, be on time for class, checked up, like it was what was
his name? What was his name?
Do you know? I've been trying to remember. I think it was Coach Little.
Okay.
Coach Little. I believe. I don't shoot.
That's all right.
It's the old Coach. I'm getting older. I got grays. It's been a long time. It feels like yesterday, but it's a long time. So then I also played in still had the football itch. So I played in not a semi-pro. We didn't get paid, but it was a men's league football.
Like Coach Murphy, you played in a men's league tackle football?
Yeah, you know. It's 19 years old. Think I still had it.
Blows my mind. It blows my mind.
Stupid. This is what it is.
Blows my mind.
I tore my ACL.
There you go. Trying to relive the glory days, and that's what happens.
Yep. So I had the surgery down there. I by a doctor that dealt with all the baseball teams. He was great, and came home, after spring, and I worked when I graduated high school. By the way, I worked at.
Here we go. Just get it out.
All right, I started working at DJ's in Belmar.
Yeah,
and it was as a 18-year-old kid, and
it's a
you
dream
had an
job
opportunity to go work at a bar.
Jack, we don't listen. What do you talk about? Like a bar on the beach? Like what? Who would want to work there?
Right,
yeah, right.
Insanity, right? And so then I came home. I was rehabbing, and I worked again at DJ's the second year, and reached out to Coach Penta, and he was nice enough. Now it was my brother's junior year, but I came back as the freshman coach again.
Okay.
And was going to school, night school, and coaching and working. And I just, that was when I knew this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I did go to school for special education, but, I never finished because the bar, I moved up the ladder in the bar as management and things like that. And was pretty much there were three owners there. And one of the owners, kind of right-hand man, did a lot of stuff for him in the winter. And was making, at the time, really good money. And if you looked at the long game instead of the short game, maybe staying in school would have been the right thing to do and doing that. But, I'm still there. They're good to my family, good to my kids.
That's a long time.
How many years now? This
will be 31.
Holy shit.
So,
wow.
Yeah, I'm getting older, but the kids stay the same age. We keep saying that.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
So
that's
Coach,
the problem. Sure.
Coach, Jack, this is a really unique story that you have. And I know there's a lot of guys out there that have a unique story in regards to how they got into coaching football when they weren't an educator. But you did what you needed to do in regards to get the credits that you needed to be an official assistant coach, although there are volunteer coaches as well, right? And so this is how it worked out for you.
Absolutely. It was like I said, I did Brookdale the first year that I went down to Florida. So by then I had my 60 credits. I was able to now actually, make a little money coaching. To be honest, the little money is
right. It is a little money, right?
Literally little money, but and you guys notice we don't do it for that. It's not about the money. It was just an amazing experience. And again, we had another really good freshman team. I think we're 7-1-1 that year. And then the next year, my brother's senior year, Coach Penta got the principal's job at Long Branch Middle School.
Okay.
And Pete, who was my freshman coach, and when I graduated, we became very, very close. And I'm actually the godfather for his oldest son.
Wow.
That's how close we got, Vaughn. He became the head coach, and I was his right-hand man. And we did that. He was the head coach there for, I think, 2 years, maybe 3 years.
What did you run there, Coach?
We stayed in the wing.
Okay. And were you the offensive coordinator, or what did you do?
Well, Pete, I mean, Pete gave me a little bit more leverage. I was still young. Pete being the head guy, and Penta was the offensive coordinator. It gave Pete the opportunity to be the offensive coordinator.
Oh, God.
But we worked really close together. I mean, game day didn't call plays, but game planning and film breakdown and things like that. Like we worked. I mean, we spent a lot of time together. So.
And this was what, the late 90s?
99. This was 98 football.
And how were you guys back then?
How were we?
Yeah.
Good. They had made the state playoffs 2 years in a row, lost to Del Barton. And then my brother's senior year, we lost to Del Barton again. Powerhouse, though. I mean, it was their running backs are baby Hueys, and their linemen are these ginormous, dudes. It's the same way where they find these linemen. Their linemen are hard to find, and
right.
Del Barton seems to manufacture them pretty well. but yeah, so we lost to Del Barton both years in the States. And then Pete was kind of going in the administrative role. Got a job at Howell as a special ed teacher, but he resigned at St. John Vianney. And now this is where all the connections and things
Yeah.
make. So Derek Sininsky, Coach Generelli was the head coach at Raritan. And he brought Derek from Middletown South with him to Raritan.
Right.
And he, I think, was going to North Carolina to coach at the University of North Carolina. He resigned at Raritan, and Derek was named the head coach at Raritan High School. Derek felt like the way, Generelli was a pro I guy. Derek felt like the players he had, wing team might fit that better. So him knowing Derek from growing up, Derek was a Middletown guy, went to Modern Day, but was a Middletown guy, played, I think, Pop Warner with Pete. Reached out to Pete and said, do you want to come over and be, my offensive coordinator? And kind of the same similar situation. Pete was like, I got a guy, my right-hand guy. I'd like him to bring him with me. And Derek and I had battles in the B North, being Raritan and St. John's. He was fiery, I was fiery. So we knew each other, yelling across the field, how Derek coaches.
Right.
And I was the same way.
And wait a minute, like you didn't have this like DJs. What, Coach, where was Derek? Derek worked in a place up in Mattawan.
MVPs, baby.
MVPs.
I worked for him.
MVPs. That's
I worked
right.
there.
There's a DJ's MVPs thing going on too.
Yeah, we had a rivalry going.
I worked 2 years at MVPs with Derek. I just got to correct your timeline a little bit, Jack. When Coach Generelli left South, he went to North Carolina. He came back to Raritan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Because Tommy and I were Tommy, and Derek were part of that staff.
That's right.
The first year at Raritan.
I apologize. You're right.
Yeah.
I think he became an administrator. Is that why?
I don't even know what happened after
I don't know
Raritan.
what happened there.
Yeah.
But whatever it was, Derek got that head job.
Yeah.
And like I said, Pete, he had reached out to Pete, and then Pete brought me up and he goes, I'm not hiring that lunatic. It's my first year. I can't. Like, come on, man. Like, I can't do it. He goes, just sit down with him and talk to him. And we had a coaches meeting. We hit it off. Derek and I, like, we did. We have very similar personalities when it comes to that, and our care for the kids and things like that. And he hired,
What year was that? What year was that, Jack? Because I don't even know. What year?
That was 2001, I believe.
Okay.
2001.
Okay.
Yes. The reason I know that is because Derek's very first high school head coaching game was against Pinelands, and 9/11 happened.
Okay.
That was his first year coaching.
Right.
And that was a tough, for any coach, a seasoned coach, how to navigate through that. But especially in Hazlitt, where a lot of people worked
up there.
Yeah.
And,
Brutal.
being so close to Seabright and the ferry going back and forth and literally seeing it from across the bay, it touched. I got goosebumps now talking about it, believe it or not. It was, it affected a lot of people at that school, along with others. But it hit pretty hard. And he did a really good job being a first-year guy, not a first-year coach, but a first-year head coach of navigating through a really tough situation and something that nobody really knew how to deal with.
You guys, you probably would remember this, right? Did you lose any parents in that?
Yeah, there were a few kids that had some parents in that. Yeah.
On the team or just in the school?
On the team, I believe. Yeah,
really?
Maybe one.
Wow.
Was there one? You know what? I would have remembered that. I would say the school. I would say the school.
Yeah, that's pretty intense, man.
I remember that. We were at Allentown. I remember that third year, and we had a lot of connections with them because a lot of the people that were in the Millstone area, they were financial guys and stuff. That was tough situation. 2001.
I'll never forget the day. I mean, I was living still in Union Beach with my parents, and again, not being an educator, I didn't have work in the morning.
Mhm.
So here I am watching ESPN like I do,
Right.
morning stuff.
Right.
And all of a sudden this thing comes across and I literally pull up my shade and look, and you can see the smoke from my bedroom in my parents' house. I mean, that's Union Beach. I mean, you go to the waterfront there. It's right there. So it was wild, man. And so he did a good job, and we ended up playing Pinelands, and we had Coach Schwartz, a good friend of his from Middletown, was in the service, and he gave the speech. Derek let him give the speech before the Pinelands game. I remember this. Derek's very first thing was, the pregame was very long in the locker room. Mm. And if you played at Pinelands, you know that the school to the field is a very, very long walk. And Derek got a flag his very first time as a head coach on the sideline after the captains were done with the coin toss for a delay of game because we were 10 minutes late
walking.
Wow.
And Derek, as you know, Derek is losing his mind. I got a Marine on my staff.
Yeah.
I'm close to this. Are you out of your mind? Like just losing it. But it was crazy. But yeah, so I met Derek there, and the connection thing. So we were with him. I met my kid's mom, my ex-wife, was Derek's wife's sister. So at Laura's 30th birthday party, I was introduced to her, and we ended up getting married. We had 3 beautiful kids. So that connection happened. Mm-hmm. We went down to Florida as all of us.
This is a very interesting story.
You got to tell us about this. Okay. I remember this too. I remember this.
This does not happen every day, man.
No.
Okay, so let us have it.
Derek and Laura had a timeshare down in Florida. So they every week in the summer they would go to Florida. And then they had some friends that moved to the Cape Coral area. So they would go visit. And when you're on vacation, Florida is the greatest place in the world, right? Right. You're on vacation.
Right.
And his friend got there was an opening for a sheriff's job down there, and they were thinking about moving out of the state and whatever else. I'll give credit to them, man. They if they put their mind to it and they want to do something, they're going to do it. And he went down there for the sheriff's job, but also saw that there was a brand new high school, Idas Baker, opening up, and there was a head coach. They were interviewing for head coaches, so he did both. He put in for both. And he would fly down there and go through the whole, all the different interviews for the sheriff's job. And while he was down there, he'd do the interviews for the teaching head coaching job.
Unbelievable.
And he got both. And
my God.
Yeah, he ended up getting both. And he made the decision that, you know what, we're all going to go down, like, the 4 of us. And he just had his twin boys. Mm-hmm. Ryan and Tyler, and my ex-wife was pregnant with my daughter at that point. So we took the chance, and we said, let's try this. The school wasn't even built yet. It was in trailers. Mm-hmm. Everything was in trailers. And we went down there, and we played North Fort Myers, where Deion Sanders played.
Holy shit.
Now down there is different football. It's definitely different. The speed's different.
Yeah, that's what we want to know, man. Tell us about it. Tell us about the differences.
It's wild. Now freshmen play here on Thursdays. Back in the day, they played on Friday, afternoon. Mm-hmm. Your parents couldn't even make it there because it was usually 3:30, 4 o'clock game.
Yeah.
So there weren't a lot of people in the stands down there. Freshmen played Thursday nights, and they charged admission to go. So you were supposed to make money. You had to be good. Like it brought money in.
Right.
It was a real deal.
Public school?
It was a public school. Yeah. There wasn't a lot of Catholic schools. It was, you had school choice. So we were Lee County. So you were able to, kind of choose what school you wanted to go in Lee County. So you had that opportunity to recruit, so to speak, because there was, North Fort Myers, Cape Coral, Mariner, which was in Cape Coral, Ida S. Baker, that was just being built in Cape Coral. It was a huge town. Dunbar was in Fort Myers. They were like the Miami Hurricanes. We played them. Crap. Like just freshmen, grown men,
So coach, so you had an experience, you had already coached up here. So you got to, you played up here and you coach kids up here. So you got a flavor of coaching kids up here. And then you go down to Florida, right? So my question to you is, because I remember when I was a young coach, right? And, at Middletown South, and I really loved it there and really loved the kids. And I guess when I was a young guy, I must have said, I remember this, I must have said to Coach Comafero or someone, but Coach answered, I'm like, I can never imagine coaching somewhere else, right?
Right.
And Coach Comafero, who had, been a career coach at that point, coached high school, coached in college. And, here he was in his early 40s, family man. And he goes, let me tell you something, kids are kids. He goes, you go somewhere else, they're kids, just like they're kids here. And they're going to respond the same way, So he goes, I understand that, but kids are kids. Did you find out that kids are kids?
Kids are kids, but this is what's helped me now. I think that St. John Vianney and Hazlitt, right? Hazlitt, that hardworking, blue collar, bring your lunch pail type town. You go down to Florida, and their home life is way different. And you're doing kind of like inner city type kids,
So that's the population you had down there.
Yes. Yeah. So not only are you a football coach, but you feel like you're a counselor as well. So, you're making sure the kid, hey, you got a meal tonight. Yeah. You need me to pick you up something to eat, that type of stuff. It was definitely eye-opening to me, because you grew up in this bubble of, I had a great family and I had food on the table every night. My parents worked and they were together, and, and St. John Vianney was, Catholic school. So most kids were in good shape. And like I said, Hazlitt, kids are in good shape, hard working families. And so it was a different type of player coming from the
football program in a lot of these situations was really a family type of thing, more so than it usually is, because that's probably where they felt the most connections and the most cohesiveness and the most protection, the most, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. So it was great in that sense, where I think I grew as a coach, because, it's not, you got to care more about just the X's and O's, and you want to make sure the kid's good. And it was their escape from there, but also making sure kids were eligible because they weren't in jail.
Right.
Like Derek talked to a lot of, their it's not parole officers, but they're
probation
officers, and the probation officer working with Derek to trust that the kid is at practice and he is working hard and he's doing those things. Like it brought a light to like, wow. And, and we'll get to it, but I coached AYF with my kids and I do the All-Stars, and you meet kids from all over the country. And, here we play football and it's fun, and maybe it'll help you with some money in college. And for them, they play football because it's the way out. It's the way out of where they're at. And I want to try to get out of this situation and then make something of myself, know?
So how are you guys, could you tell us just real quickly about the first meeting with the kids, and how did the parents how was the reception with the parents? I'm just curious.
Excited. It was great. And look, Derek's an intimidating looking guy, especially back then. I mean, he looked like Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? So
that's right. Stone Cold Steve Austin. I love it.
Right. Yeah. So, it's like, oh my God, they hired a prison guard to be the head coach.
That's great.
And, so it was, they looked at us, they knew their kids were okay, but they were very receptive, very excited about the opportunity of a new high school. It was fun. And again, that started, football down there starts way earlier than we do here. So they moved down here, down to Florida. I want to say whenever Charlie was. So it had to be like June. Once he was done with teaching at Raritan, his last day, we had the van packed and they went.
Incredible.
I stayed because I was managing DJs at that time, and that's my bread and butter. So I would fly down. There were times I would fly down, I'd work the weekend, fly down, coach, and then fly back home for the weekend to work. You know what I mean? And it was wild. And their school started.
My head is going to explode listening to this.
Unbelievable.
It was, Spirit Airlines.
The things we do when we're young, man.
Holy crap, dude.
Right. You just don't think about it, right? You do it. And so I called the offense, he called the defense. And
it was a freshman. It was all freshmen at that time?
The school was only freshmen.
Gotcha.
So they were in, it wasn't like they brought kids in, they started it from ground, almost like Barnegat started it. You know what I mean? From the freshmen. So he played freshman football. Then it would have been JV year. And then as juniors, they would have had a varsity program.
Gotcha.
So we were doing that, loved it. And I'll tell you, living down there, I know I went to school down there, but like living down there, you get into, the November and December months and you're in shorts and t-shirt, you're like, is this even real? Like, but going to watch those football games, if you remember, I forget his first name, but Divine was playing. He played for West Virginia. He was a running back, Noel Divine.
Yeah.
Do you remember him?
Kid. He was small though.
Small.
That was Rich Rodriguez. That was Rich Rodriguez.
Correct. At West Virginia. Yeah.
First time. Yeah.
He played at North Fort Myers. So watching that kid play and the speed of the game down in Florida is it's a different speed. It is. The size might not be as, Northeast, you got to be able to pound the football. Like if you want to win in the States, you don't know what the weather's going to be.
Right.
Out in Florida, you know what the weather's going to be. Beautiful every day.
So I always had a question, and it was always a struggle of mine. How did you manage the coaching with the situations of home life with your players? How did you manage that? How were you? Yeah, like how were you able to manage the trials and tribulations that the kids that played for you were going through in their personal life, with getting them to all gel as a team?
Like I think what Greg said, what Let's said, Tom said, it was their way out. It was their family. It was their constant family. Like they came together. I mean, they didn't know each other. A lot of the kids, because again, the county, the district is big. So if they chose Ida S. Baker, they were coming from all over and playing for different youth organizations, which I don't even know what they were down there. It wasn't Pop Warner. It was like Florida something or other.
Right.
So they were excited about it. They all kind of gelled together. You had your cliques, but Derek was really good about the team, family, whole thing. He was really, really big on that and checking in on the guys, especially ones who needed checking in on. It was a lot of work for him, for sure.
Yeah.
There was no doubt. Like I think it was more work than he anticipated.
They anticipated, yeah.
Because coming from Jersey and being a head coach, at a high school and coaching at South and having all those years, and then, all right, I'm going to take over a program. It's freshmen. That was probably the biggest thing for Derek. Because I coached freshman football at St. John's.
Right. It's different. It's completely different.
I was used to that. So I was really good. I think if you asked him, I was good as far as managing the youth side of it, like not the maturity yet. And the fact that they knew nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they didn't know football yet. Like this was the learning stage. This was the infancy stage. And I think because Derek coached at a high level right away, like as soon as I guess his first stint was at Middletown South, right?
Yeah, that's how we met him. Yeah.
You guys had dudes there and it was varsity level.
Right.
That I think was like, his big thing is, how hard is it? And I have to explain to him, well, it's hard they don't get it because they're
Yes,
still babies.
that's a hard thing for coaches, to recognize that, you in high school, you're getting kids that some of them have no idea what's going on. They just want to be a part of something.
Right. Maybe never even played,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you're coaching varsity, by the time they get to you, even as sophomores, at least they have that freshman year under their belt of like the nonsense that goes on as freshmen.
All right. So how'd you guys do that first year?
So we did well. We were 500, had a great time, great year. We were excited. And then, Derek had lost his father that winter. And it hit him pretty hard. And he came back for the arrangements and things like that. And, my ex taught there and teaching in Florida.
In Ida?
No, she was she was elementary.
Here or down there in Florida?
No, down there. And they teach differently there. Like there's a standardized test to pass third grade. And
right.
Like, there were certain things she just didn't enjoy it. And so, with all that going on, he was like, you know what? I don't know if I really like, we want to be down here. And listen, I was coming back in May because we were opening up at the bar. So I was going to be here in the summer anyway.
Right.
And, we decided, so anyway, Derek's father passed, and Monmouth Regional, he was close with, who was the AD then?
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Italian name.
Yeah, I forget who he is.
He knew Derek, and the principal who got the principal's job was familiar with Derek. And Derek was kind of saying, I think I want to come back. And he's like, why don't you apply for the job? I think you'd be perfect here. And so now he's flying home for interviews for the Monmouth Regional job.
Oh my God!
While he's teaching in Florida, and my daughter was born in Florida. So, her social security number is way different than mine and my boys, because Jersey has a specific pattern, and her number is like way out of the way out. But
so you guys were there for 1 year then? For one year.
Yeah. Yep. 1 year. Came home. Then he was at Monmouth Regional, and helped them out there. And that's where I met the owner of the Butcher's Block, Tommy D'Ambrigi. He was a junior there. And I came in as his quarterback coach, and I guess they had some rough patches beforehand. And Tommy and I hit it off, not just as a player coach, but like a little bit deeper than that. Like he was a really good kid, and I think he loved being coached hard by me.
What's his last name?
Yeah,
I remember him he was a quarterback there.
Quarterback, very good.
I remember I think we played them when he was a quarterback. What years was this?
So this would have been 05 football and 06 football. He was at Monmouth Regional.
I just know the name then. I don't think we played him from Manchester when I was at Manchester.
Right.
I don't think we played Monmouth.
Oh, wait, let me go back for 1 second, Let's. And I don't know if you'll edit this or not, but so my second year at Raritan with Derek, Pete had left for the administration job.
Yep.
So I became kind of like the co-offensive coordinator with Derek, and Andrew Mandeville came in as a freshman, who's well known in the Shore Conference.
Yeah.
And I was his quarterback coach, and what an outstanding player he was. Just a difference maker.
Yeah.
And this is where the connections meet. So we coach him, we leave. Coach Generelli took that back over, won a state title with him.
Yeah,
right.
One or two of them. And then we come back, go to Monmouth, and it's just funny how that all works. So that was Tommy's like idol, because he was in that 7th, 8th grade, and Andrew was the big dog of the Shore Conference,
Right.
And a little side note, Andrew's freshman year at Raritan, we played Middletown South at Raritan and beat Noshan Moreno in overtime. It was his, I believe, only Shore Conference loss in his high school career.
Wow.
His freshman year, it was the battle of the two freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up taking that in overtime. Moreno made a catch on the sideline to tie the game. He laid out. I can't believe he was a freshman. He was
a freshman you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Completely laid out and made this catch to go into overtime that you don't see,
Well, Greg and I happened
Yes, we did.
Greg and I happened to have been on the sideline, Middletown South. I think Joey Critelli was coaching at the time. They had a playoff game against Ewing. We had played Ewing that year in 2001. Ewing had a good team. We really had a good game against them. It was like 7-6 at halftime or something, and we thought we couldn't even upset them. But anyway, Greg and I witnessed.
We were there.
Marino. What he did for the winning touchdown is he leaped from the 5-yard line, okay, and dove into the end zone. Okay, that's 15 feet.
Yes.
Right.
As a freshman. And we couldn't believe it. We were near that play, Greg, if you remember.
I remember being there.
We couldn't believe what we just saw, that this kid, he just, catapulted himself from the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
Okay. And they won that game.
Yeah.
He was special. Without it,
special.
I mean, he went to Georgia, guys. You played 12 years or 10 years in the league. Like,
I know.
And you saw it right away. I mean, he was just so freaking good,
Right.
And they had a good team too. Macaluso went to Stanford as linebacker.
Yeah, they had a lot of guys.
They were freaking loaded, man.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
But so then Tommy looked up to Andrew. Funny story now. Andrew is Tommy's top manager at the Butcher's Block.
Crazy. Well, they went to Monmouth together.
So Andrew
Monmouth
went to
University now. Monmouth University.
It was Monmouth College then.
Yes.
Tommy went there right out of high school and then realized, I want to actually play. I want an opportunity to play, and he transferred to Kane, he played under Garrett, Dan Garrett, and was really successful. His senior year brought them to, I want to say it was the finals, but maybe the semifinals, and lost to Salisbury in a shootout, like 56-52.
The Division III semifinals?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I believe O'Connor was his offensive coordinator that year. Ended up coaching at South, I believe, for a minute.
Yes, he did.
That's right. He did.
But so he still does beefsteak dinners for Kane at the Block, and he does it for Monmouth. He loves shore conference football. And then, so when I get through my story, I actually brought him on, Greg, after the year after you and I coached at St. John's, and I was the offensive coordinator when you left. I brought him on as my quarterback coach. And pretty wild. But so we came back. We're at Monmouth, and then some stuff happened. Derek moved down to Manahawkin and coached actually Sicardo, one of Sicardo's guys. Sicardo left, and one of his guys got the head job at Pinelands. And Derek, I believe, played for Sicardo
at Mater
Day.
Right.
And because he lived down there, the drive to Monmouth every day was long. And he went on and was the D coordinator at Pinelands for maybe a year or 2 years. And then he got the Marlboro head job. And we went over to Marlboro. And I'm looking geographically in my head.
All over the world. They're all over the place. It's crazy.
I followed them everywhere we went.
I'm interested in Marlboro. Obviously Derek's not here, so we can't talk to him. But Derek made the decision to take over a program that's a perennial losing program at the time. With Greg and I, got into Allentown. So what was was there a discussion? Did he ask you what you thought? Like, how did that happen? The transition into Marlboro.
So, as you know, Derek, you guys know Derek as well as I know Derek. He believes he can win anywhere with anyone. He's very confident in his abilities, as am I. And So it was a challenge because they were not, I mean, they weren't good since I graduated in 95. That was their last year that they won a state title, that 93 football season.
Yeah, that's the only time they had won one.
That's the only time. Other than that, so he believed like, all right, let's make this thing what it is. Free Old School District's a great district to teach in. So he hit the jackpot with that. And, so we went in there with the mindset that we were going to change this program. And then found out, look, it's not a football school. That's not the priority.
You need the players, man.
Right. And we laughed because in Marlboro, you could start school earlier. So we had seniors that couldn't even drive to practice yet.
Right.
And our big joke on game day was, they have 5 guys with beards on their face. We don't have one kid with has even shaved yet. We were just they were just young and
right.
And again, we had some good athletes, some good pieces.
Didn't they have a good Pop Warner program?
Not great.
No.
I believe it merged for a bit. It was kind of with Colts Neck for a minute, and then they now it's actually pretty good. I think their AYF is better, and Jay D'Agato's done a great job since he's taken over there.
Yeah,
he seems that kids are staying at Marlboro. So at Free Old School District, you have an opportunity. If you're in ROTC, you go to Colts Neck. If you're in
the law program is Manalapan,
right?
So auto mechanics is
there's
Manalapan.
Cooking, there's fine
Freehold Borough, I think, was auto mechanics.
Yeah, something like that.
No, Freehold Borough was cooking. Culinary.
Yeah, and then Marlboro was like something smart, like it was like mathematics or something.
Right.
So nobody from another town was going there to do that.
Right. At least not the athletes.
Not the athletes. No.
Right.
You had more athletes in Marlboro leaving to go somewhere else.
Yes. Hey, at Colts Neck, we got a couple of good athletes.
Yeah, we did.
From Marlboro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. And I believe Chickatelli won at Freehold Borough with the quarterback that was at Marlboro and transferred there, went into whatever Freehold Borough's thing is.
Culinary.
That's right. That kid's name was Tyson, I think.
Tyson. Yes, he was a Marlboro kid.
He was good.
Yeah, so when Derek took the job, Tyson was the sophomore quarterback there. So Derek thought he was getting this kid, and then he left and went to Freehold Borough.
My God.
So
it's like a nightmare, Greg.
Yep.
Listen, it didn't matter how hard you coach them or
we know
how much time, how much effort. You were what you were, and then it was based on school size. Mm-hmm. So you were playing the teams that had 100 kids on the sideline, and really Marlboro was like a Group 2 type team. Like you could compete against Group 2, Group 3, but you didn't have that type of schedule. Mm-hmm. So it was in that pride in you. It was hard, and you guys know you were at Allentown. You gave it everything, but if you couldn't win, you tried to make it the best experience for them and to something they're going to use down the road, like the discipline aspect of it and the just the relationships you made. I still talk to Parker Hawk, who was our quarterback for 2 years there.
Oh man, it's nice.
He reaches out sometimes. A lot of those kids. It's funny too. Like working at DJs when these kids turn 21, now they're coming in and they're checking their IDs and stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
So how long were you at Marlboro with Derek?
Yeah. So we were at Marlboro for what year did we coach with you, Coach?
13.
So he was at Marlboro for 6 years.
Six. Okay. Long time. Did you guys have an upset? Did you have an upset win during your tenure there that you can recall?
We beat St. John Vianney when they were when Colstrom was the coach there, I believe. That was big. We actually brought in lights to Marlboro.
Nice.
Those portable lights.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a night game at the high school.
Mm-hmm.
And, I believe we won that game. That was an upset win. But we were one of those teams that you could play with them for a half, and then you come out in the second half and we just
We
didn't
know
have
it. We know it well.
yeah, and you just didn't have the depth and
I'm getting drained just thinking about it again.
right. And then, and then again, Derek's trying to think out of the box. What can we do? And there was a 1 year we literally changed our offense
We remember
every week.
Yeah, we remember that. Yeah,
we went from spread
Wing tee.
to wing tee to navy to back to the I formation.
Yeah.
So it was funny. Like that first quarter, it would take a team a bit to adjust to what we decided we were going to run that week, but didn't have the flow. Okay.
Yeah. So now this is the part that everyone that knows us, okay, but looking forward to.
Yes.
Okay, that you come in 2013. How that all happened? You came with Derek, and that's how we met you. And
all right. And so I'll take this story over because
great.
So we hired Derek and to coach the offensive line and linebackers, and we still had one open position left that I was trying to fill, and Derek brought up Jack's name. And I remember sitting there talking to Derek, and my only question was, do you vouch for him? And he said, yes. And I said, okay, I want to meet him. And that's how it all happened.
Yep.
And he was everything. Jack was everything Derek said he was. And Jack proved it that 1 year and became my right-hand man there. I mean, Jack was there every freaking day, early, taking, because at that point, I guess Hopi was the only guy I had in the building.
Right.
And that was 4 years into. So this fifth year, I had Hope in the building. And then Jack would come all the time and take care of the shit. And our incredible connection, within football and outside of football was born by Derek. So I give Derek all that credit.
That's right.
He's the one who springboarded Jack's relationship, and it grows every year.
Yeah.
So
it's a great story. So Jack, so here you are, you're coming in with Derek. Okay. Right. You don't know any of us. And this is our 5th year at Colts Neck. So we're established. We had an excellent year the year before, and then you come in, man. So tell us the experience. Like,
all right.
So
first off, the interview with Greg, like he said, we hit it off. Like, I honestly think the interview ended up being like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Like it wasn't just football. It was, he wanted to know about my family and my kids and life. And I was like, this guy, and I wanted to know the same about him. So it was a really cool interview that it wasn't just football. And I felt like, wow, I'm coming into something real special here, because it wasn't 100 all the time football. It was, there was more to it than that. So I was excited, number one, because I knew what kind of program you had already being at Marlboro, Colts Neck being in the same district, the success that you guys have had, and the type of caliber of players you guys had. So I was excited about that because, being at Marlboro for that amount of time, it was good to get back into kids who really want to play at the next level. Let's just say that, right? Like, they weren't just playing football because it was a fun thing to do in high school. You had really good kids that wanted to play.
They were serious players. They were serious about competing.
By that time, yeah.
By that time, yeah. I mean, you guys already paved the way over there. I was just lucky enough to come in on it in an amazing time for you guys. So yeah, I was amped. I was excited, and I put pressure on myself. I knew I had to step up my coaching game, and was I ready to take on, because again, being at Marlboro, nothing against Marlboro, but being mediocre to below it, it's like, you got to step your game up. Like these guys are like, we got to go here. And then knowing, listen, I walked out, I got Anthony Gargiulo as my running back, as the running backs coach. It's not a bad thing to do. And Abdul was outstanding as well.
And you have Averka too. You have a pretty good crew.
So here's what I want to know. I want you to talk more about, because what I always find when I have these conversations with coaches, I I see it from a completely different perspective. So give me your perspective on the interview. Elaborate more on that because, like I said, I blacked so many things out. I blocked so many fucking things out in my coaching career,
Right.
from Allentown on. So what stood out? What stood out in the interview? And then we want to go on to what stood out with when you met Tommy and how the program was run
Yeah,
and all
what
that
stood
shit.
out in the program? What stood out to you
Right.
program wise,
Well, first and foremost, the interview, walking into that coach's office and seeing how pristinely clean, not only that, but how good it smelled. Like,
That's right.
Because he would take those urinal things and hide them underneath the table.
They're awesome. Love those things, man. They smell great.
Right there, you knew the standard was just different.
Yeah.
Greg used to.
I believe I had a coffee table with a candle on the middle of it too.
That's correct. That's correct. Mm-hmm. Yes. But so you walk into that and just the cleanliness and how everything had a place. Like you walk in, this is serious stuff. Like, there's a standard here.
Mm-hmm.
And then the interview itself, just the questions that were asked of, not so much my knowledge, because I think my coaching experience, he knew I had knowledge of it, but how I relay that to the kids. How do I treat the kids? How do you handle this situation? Like asking me those types of questions.
Right.
And then him telling me how you guys handle those types of situations and what you expect, not only from your players, but your coaches, and that to me was really what stood out to me for that, like those types of questions. And again, asking about my family and my background and things like that. Like, that's usually something that comes with time.
Right.
Yeah. You kind of wanted to know everything about me right then and there in that interview.
Well, my issue with being a coach and hiring assistant coaches is it was more important to me about what type of human being they were. The coaching part was secondary to me.
Right.
Because I don't care. And this is just me personally. For myself, I'll speak for myself only. I never put that much weight on someone's coaching pedigree. I cared more about who they were as a human being. They had to fit into what I believed and what our staff, my staff and my program above wins and losses or what you did in the past. It was more important. It was more important to get a feel for what type of human being I'm going to deal with first, because we could always make you a better coach. And just the autonomy that I gave my assistant coaches, I think allowed them to become better coaches in their own right. But who they were as a human was always first and foremost my most important criteria.
Can we work with them?
Yes.
Are they good guys? Can we work with them?
Right.
And so that just was perfect. It worked out perfectly.
Yep. Yeah. No, it was awesome.
And Jack checked all the boxes, obviously, in that first interview. So
yeah, it was. So then it's funny. I tell people this all the time, Let's. So you're like the big brother of Greg. I look at it that way. You're very protective of Greg and who you allow to come into your circle. That you guys, it's like a sacred thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is. And at first, I don't know. And again, you knew Derek because you coached with Derek before. So
yeah,
you spoke with Derek a lot. And I felt like I was kind of like, we just didn't, not that you hated me
in the beginning, right?
You just didn't need me at that point. Like there was, like, I didn't need to talk to Jack. Like,
right.
Like, I'm going to watch him and kind of make sure he fits and he's not like, I'm going to protect my brother here and make sure he's doing the right thing. So it wasn't like you opened arms and you're like, hey, welcome. Like it wasn't. Like,
no, Tommy's not like that with anyone.
But I didn't know Tommy at all. Like I know. Zero,
Yeah, we didn't know each other.
Now, did Derek give you any heads up before you came to meet Tommy and I, or meet me about what we're like and stuff like that? If you want to share.
Well, Tommy, as far as his defense and that, he's like, he's out of his mind and he's fiery and you're going to love him. And, he's great with the kids and you as well.
And I'm a douche. I'm a nitpicking douche.
No, he really didn't. He kind of let me make my own.
Right.
Derek was good like that. Like, just I got you the interview, go be you, and
Right.
hopefully it works out,
Right. Right.
And he'll vouch for me. I knew he had my back with that. But,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, he talked a little bit more about Tommy than he did you, only
Right.
because they're defensive guys,
Right. He worked closely with him.
and the
Yeah.
scheme and things like that, and a lot of stuff he learned and that he did was Tommy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That he learned a ton from Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
So he was excited about that, like getting back together with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, going back to like Tom, I felt, and I believe it or not, I was thrown back at first, but then I was like, all right, I get it. Like I'm an older brother to my younger brother, right? Like I get it. So I'll earn his respect, and I'll just be me, and eventually I feel I'll win him over. Now, Coach Handel was way easier. He loves everybody. You know what I mean? Like he's just, and
I can't remember. Like, I guess I was. How was I protecting him? Like, I don't.
You would say things quickly to me, like, and you were always just making sure I was doing the right thing in the model of what you guys believe. Like, you didn't know anything about me, so to me it was like, is he doing what we?
Yeah. So this is interesting. Part of there's a lot of moving parts there. There's a lot of moving parts.
Of course.
So first, I didn't know you, and then second, you didn't coach a defensive position. So I never got time to spend with you.
Correct.
All I could do was watch you, right? I feel bad for Derek because Greg uses the word autonomy. Like I didn't do that, even with Derek, so I know I'm difficult to coach with just because that's my mind works, I have a lot of respect for Derek for that because obviously he knows his stuff. We have a little bit different philosophy, defensively, I believe, but the guys did, like I said, with Hope and Derek, of course, they picked their starters. I didn't have anything to do with the starters. I trusted them. And, if I had a question, I'd ask or whatever, but they basically picked the starters. But you didn't coach a position on defense. And there was a lot going on in my personal life at that time. So there was a lot of stress that way. But the other thing was, like this was going to be the year. And you talk about the big brother thing, because when Greg, took the Allentown job, he was 29. And at the time, it was such a very difficult time period for him, and I did what I could, as you said, working at Marlboro, you come to understand that there's only so much that you can do. And then the year before in 2012, when we started Colts Neck, it was rough at first, but then we started to pick up steam. And, we had that heartbreaking loss to Middletown South in 2012 in the semifinals, where I just couldn't stop them. You know what I mean? And this is where I came to find out. I didn't really know this. I don't know how you couldn't know it. But I learned that it is very difficult to play a good team twice in the same year. Yeah. Because, they know what to game plan for because they lost. Right. You won. You know what I mean? Like, and a mistake is don't game plan the same way, because they know, okay, you played them. So I had this thing like, I was just so, it's so focused on winning this, for the kids and everything, but I wanted to win it for Greg, I mean, I wanted to win it for him, you know what I mean? And that whole season, like I didn't want to lose this opportunity, that presented itself for us. And that's why you guys can remember when we were practicing the week before the Brick game and Anthony was injured and I was losing my mind. Because it was Thursday for a Saturday game. And I just remember that Thursday practice because it was the last full practice in pads. And I was unsettled, and it was a bad feeling, And I just remember that. I remember I mentioned this in another podcast, and I should have listened to him. Martin Hooper approached me and says, Coach, he goes, I can play Anthony's spot. You know what I mean? And he could play that defensive end spot, you know. He says, I can play that spot, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I know, Martin, you know, but I should have taken that more, you know, I should have applied that a little bit more going to the game. But that's hindsight. But that's the reason that I was that way, you know. But you know, we got past that. You know?
No, and honestly, from what I can remember, you probably won't because it's a blurry. But I think what did it was, so I don't even know how it came about, but I ended up being your booth guy.
Yes.
Even though I didn't coach a position, Andel was on the headset with Greg, and you didn't really have a booth guy.
No,
because I guess
Coach Bova couldn't make it.
Bova couldn't really be there that year, and Derek had said, "Well, put Jack up there. He's got an offensive, you know, mind." So, and you know, you like to throw your headset off and not hear shit, and when you get into your, you know, you don't have it on more than you have it on,
right?
But I think you would ask me to do a particular thing, what you needed from me up there. And I think I did that for you.
You were right on it.
And
you were right on it.
At that moment, like it was weird. That first game after that, you talked to me like we were coaching for 20 years.
because that was the segue, you know, because I needed to talk to you because when I found that, you know, you were giving me valuable stuff, you know, and the value was how quickly I got it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So the technical stuff, I mean, you know, the basic stuff you need first to know to get your mind planning about what you want to call. Where's the ball? You know, what's the yard line? Where's the hash? What's the down and distance? Like you were very, very quick with that. There was no hesitation. Right. So that was so useful to me. And then, you know, then you started making comments because I think maybe you felt more comfortable making those comments to me about some things that you were seeing.
Correct.
You know, and then and then I started asking you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It morphed into more and more.
Like where is he? Jack, can you watch this?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
watch the backside of this. Right.
Yeah, whatever. You know. Right. But yes, but you know, to my credit, that you know, there was a reason for me to talk to you.
Right. So it was a forced thing. I got it.
You know? Well, no, it was just kind of like, you know, it happens. You remember seeing me, like Greg just mentioned before, like you could come because of your job, you could get there early. You and him could talk and kibitz and whatever and prepare for practice. I'm friggin' running on the friggin' field. Well, you know, and he always wants to go defense first. And as soon as I get there, okay, Coach Letson's here, defense. I'm like, I just got here. Let me get settled, man. You know,
you open up the file thing, the papers are flying.
They're flying all over the place. You know, that's another thing that you did though. With the Scout O.
Scout O, yeah.
You know,
I took a lot of pride in it. You know,
and it was very helpful. You know, it's an important thing to do to organize that because a lot of times that falls on a guy that's probably a little bit too young.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that becomes frustrating, you know, because they're young and they kind of, you know, they can't put it together quickly.
And the way, honestly, Greg, to your credit, because I had never done it like that before, but the way you structured practice, right? So when the defense was going, right, the varsity guys, like we had defensive emphasis, the guys that played scout, I could take and go over what they needed to do. So I was able to coach them in a way where it wasn't just showing them a card, now go do it. And they didn't exactly know what you wanted out of it. Let's could tell me, hey, make sure on this play, this guy's doing this particular thing or wind up here. I was able to at least go over that while they were doing indie work or, you know, that type of stuff. So the way you had practice structured was new to me and really I would use moving forward the way I structured.
Now, Jack, okay, this is like a witness testimony here, okay?
Can't wait.
All right, so Greg, you know, characteristically calls me very unorganized and all this other stuff. tell me about the plays that I prepared, okay, for the scout team, okay, and just tell me about that.
That was not unorganized. That was pinpoint. You had on paper what you wanted.
Were the blocking schemes on there against the defense?
Without a doubt.
Right.
And what helps?
Yes.
No. There was. They were sometimes not right. So as an offensive guy, I was able to
you corrected
not bother him with it, but fix it. Like if I knew it was power and it wasn't drawn correctly, I could just fix it, But no, he had his stuff was on point. Believe it or not.
I had to. Well, you got to do it.
Sometimes not in the order that it should have been, because he would think something else. But that's because the wind probably got it. I don't know. No, he was on it.
It was hectic.
So look, what? Go ahead, Jack. Go. No, finish.
Because we're on Let's right now. One of the craziest things I saw when I first started with him was how he liked to be elevated over. And you're not a big guy to begin with, so the fact that like you like to see things from a bird's eye view. That's just what you do. And never did I have a coach go somewhere else to coach. You see that in college, right? But not at a high school level. They're in it. They're in the middle of it, and or standing behind. Not this guy. My man was perched up and yelling where you could hear him if he was on the field. And
how about climbing up on the equipment shed?
Oh, but it was great.
That was the best.
We're moving stuff over to where
tires. You remember when you stacked the tires up and we're standing on top of tires?
That was Holmdel, yeah.
That was Holmdel.
Yeah. So Jack, I can't overemphasize the importance you were to me that year, and then in 2013, and then when we prepped for 2014, we were graduating a great senior class, and we prepped and we spent every freaking day trying to figure out how we were going to be able to continue our level of success, which we did. And I can remember, I wish I still had the photo of the whiteboard when we finally funneled everything down into what we were going to do. Remember, we had it all on that whiteboard.
Yes.
And then tragically, obviously, I had to resign for reasons I'd love to get into, but whatever. I think it would be good for people to actually know the truth at some point. But
hey, listen, before you go on, I don't know if we said this, but for the Colts Neck kids that might be listening, after we spoke and we looked at the personnel that was coming back, and you guys were looking at this offensively, and I was looking at defensively what we had coming back, we really looked at our schedule and felt that we could be 6-3. We felt that we could, minimum could be 6-3, maybe get into the playoffs. And then, unfortunately, they had a terrible season.
Right. Yeah, it was bad. But before we move on to that,
hold on. No, you hold this story. You hold this story because I know where you're going.
All right, I don't want you to pass the season up yet, though.
I'm not going to pass the season up. I just wanted to, before we went there, where at my expense,
it was every day from January to May.
Yeah.
5 days a week, as long as school was open. I would come after school, and we worked on that. And I mean, we made booklets, right?
Yeah.
We had
everything.
To the point where we had handouts for these guys ready to go once the season was ready to.
And I'm going to say it. I just want it to be known to our players that year that we're going to come back the following year, and to people, this resignation was not planned, and it was because the principal went back on his word, and I wasn't going to put up with it anymore.
Right.
So I'll leave it there.
Right. Yes. But that in no way, shape, or form were you leaving that team,
because of the players,
those kids, and that program. It just, unfortunately, things happened that you just felt, for your standard and the way you do things and operate, it couldn't.
This was kind of the the flavor of that, which I remember, and it's unfortunate. The guy that was there wasn't a sports guy, so that was number one. And number two, they started to mess with Greg in regards to, building stuff. Mm-hmm. And the message was, we're the program's successful, like anybody can be successful.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? like,
Correct.
yeah, we don't need you type of thing. Like, and, so that's not like unique to that situation. It's unfortunate that people think, so insignificantly of sometimes of how great job coaches do to build a program like that and say, oh, it's a win. Well, we look how far we came this year. Anybody could have done that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it's just a
Right.
joke.
It was
No
tragedy.
idea how hard
It was definitely a tragedy.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
All right, so go ahead, tell your
All
story
right.
now.
So
I was just going to ask you, what are some of the most memorable things in that year that you coached with us? So you can go.
all right. So let's again. I'm a lot like you, right? We've been coaching a long time, never head coaches, always been assistants.
Yeah.
And I believe we're very, very good as assistant coaches, right? And one of the luxuries of that, and one of my favorite stories of that year was Middletown North. So we're 3-0. And we had 3 kids on our team who got in some trouble in school 2 weeks beforehand.
Yeah.
And Greg brought them in and told them, listen, clean it up. If it happens again, you're not playing a half of football. So sure enough,
it was a half. Wasn't it a quarter?
I thought it was a quarter. Greg's telling me it was a half. A half's a lot.
Here's why. Because it was twice that I had to address them.
All right.
Okay.
I believe it was a quarter.
And let's just make sure you guys can believe whatever you want. You're delusional. It was 2 times I had to address the same 3
correct.
kids in the same class, and they were 3 starting captains.
Correct.
3 captains to boot.
Correct.
3 captains.
3 captains.
So go ahead.
All right. So here we are. We're 3-0. The defense had not been scored on yet this season. Literally in practice, you were practicing teams scoring on us and how we would react. You remember doing that?
Yes, I remember that.
Awesome. All right, they scored. How are we going to react?
Right.
Like just doing those types of mind games, right? Like getting them, like always being.
I don't remember that, but now I do.
Yeah. I remember that. I definitely remember.
You did that after the second week. You kind of made.
Are you going to feel sorry for yourself?
Yeah, right. It was crazy. Like it was just mentally preparing them.
That's great. That's great.
So here we are at North, and we kick off to them, and they go down the field, and they're gashing us. Like they're gashing us to the wide side.
3 of our starters aren't in.
They were
Fellas,
running away from Anthony is what they were doing.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. But we had 3 starters out.
Yeah. So
they get inside the 10-yard line. And like you said in your other podcast, inside the 5, was it the 5? You and Greg did not stand by one another.
No.
When the defense was out there, Greg stood up opposite 50 and vice versa. So you and I are on the headset and you just had enough. And those 3 guys are standing behind you. And all of a sudden you grab them and say, get in. These guys are running in, and Andel up on the booth elbowing me because Greg's saying something. Sure enough, first play, Anthony causes a fumble. I think Volpe recovers it, right? So they don't score. and they come off the field, and he wouldn't talk. And you were like, what was I going to do? Let him score? Like, I'm not giving up our first touchdown when our guys are.
I got to say, I can't believe I did that.
You can't believe? I couldn't believe you did that.
I can't believe it.
It was, but I'm dying up in the booth because I'm all about you. Like, I'm with you. Like, I'm on the headset. Game day, I'm a defensive guy. Like, no, We're not giving up our first score right now. No. But
it was. I think
assistants, we can do that. We don't have to be that guy.
I'll never. It was like slow motion happening, and I'm like, you're right. I'm like 30 yards away from Tommy, and I'm watching this happen in slow motion, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Completely undermined.
Jack, how much time? Can you remember the time frame?
But there was only like 2 minutes left in the quarter. Like, because I believe we scored, we got the ball, we scored, and then we went down. So it wasn't like the quarter was almost up. And I think we thought it was just the first quarter. So it was really just a 2-minute thing.
No, it was a 14-minute thing. It wasn't a 2-minute, nothing. It was 14 minutes. And you know what? What we need to do is we need to have the three players. I won't name them. We probably need one of those guys to tell us for sure.
Yeah, because I thought it was a quarter, but it could have been a half. I don't
think
know,
it was a quarter because the half is a very long time.
Yeah,
I know.
And, I think it was, and they didn't do anything.
No, it wasn't harmful. It wasn't harmful. It was annoying.
It was just annoyance to the team.
All right, so we need one of those guys. We need one of those guys to let us know. Really, privately message us
because that changes the whole freaking
100%.
dynamic. It was still wrong, but it was only a little bit wrong.
All right, so I will acquiesce that maybe I'm making it bigger than it was. But to me, it was when I watched them jog onto that field, I was like, I can't believe this is happening.
Tell me you didn't love to see that fumble.
Right, but what's great is we got the fumble.
Yeah, I know. But we went on to beat them fucking 40-6 or so. I don't even know. Yeah, they didn't score. They didn't score. So we destroyed them. But again, and I know the Middletown North aspect of it probably has a little bit of extra for Tommy and me. Sure. You know, like play South and we played North. It was always like a little extra. Okay, Jack. So that was one shocking
that definitely
moment.
Is one of my faves.
That's hilarious, though.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah. So tell us, come on, give us a Coach LaCava story.
There's no stories about me. Are you kidding?
No, I mean like again, the way he presented his program, like every day going into the locker room, into the classroom, taking attendance, going over like what we're doing for that day, like that type of stuff. That's all stuff that I admire and that I love, and that I took on as far as what I do now, meeting with my offense before we go out, making sure we're all on the same page. LaCava's stories, though, just like his reactions from you are really when it's the stories. Just him sitting on a bucket while you do defense, and he's just like tapping his watch, going, "What are we doing?" That type of stuff is just hysterical to me.
Here's what I love about having coaches that coach with us: that the stories that I tell are freaking true.
They're true.
This shit up. They probably seem so fucking such bullshit to people. Everything that I say happened.
Right.
Like from Allentown all the way through. Every situation I talk about is the truth. I'm not making it bigger than it was. It's just the truth.
Right.
No. I would literally couldn't wait for offense to be over so I can get that 5-gallon bucket, walk to the other side of the field, sit down. I never brought my phone on the field. Never had a phone on the field.
I still don't.
Yeah. Walk over, flip over that bucket, sit down, throw a freaking pouch in, and just watch the chaos unfold right in front of me.
Right.
It was great.
Listen, and that to me was brand new. I've never seen a head coach.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, Derek would never.
But here's why. I had complete faith and trust in Tommy.
And that's what was awesome.
Right.
And again, Tommy thinks of every situation too. Right. It's just funny in the coach's office, he'd be going off about something or I'm stopping him here, but I got to do this. And you would just sit back like nonchalant, calmly, and just throw one-liners at him. And either it would put him over the edge.
I know.
The one where like Tom put his defensive office like in the where the saws were.
Right.
Right.
That was Holmdel.
Yeah. Like just that type of shit. And you're like, all right, yeah, you want to go in there at the saws? Go ahead, man. Get
fucking out. Dust everywhere. Shit all over the place.
Greg had this. Now that we're talking, Greg had this little thing about him. You know what I mean? That he would talk to me sometimes, and maybe he did this with you too, Jack. And he would talk to me sometimes like like a father, a husband would talk to his wife. So husband would come in and say, "You know what your son did?" You know what I mean? Greg would say shit like this. Greg would say, "You know what your free safety did?" He would say this.
Right.
I'm like, this what he would say. I'm like, well, just tell me. What are you talking? You know what your cornerback did?
The
kid you talk so highly of all the time.
It was never his receiver or his running back. It was your defensive guy.
That's right.
Never his guy.
Never. It's fucking great, man.
That was great. Yeah.
So I got it. Go ahead, Tom.
No,
I
go.
got to tell you one more ritual that Jack and I had before game day.
Yes.
I never forget this. I would die for this. Jack would bring me a Wawa pretzel and a bag of peanut M&Ms every freaking game day. And I remember that's when the Wawa pretzels were awesome before COVID destroyed them. When they were crispy on the outside, it was great. And we would sit there and put our freaking 10-play game script, which again was never about the plays. It was about the formations. I wanted to see what they were going to do to our formations,
Yep.
you know, and that was every week like clockwork. And I'm going to tell you, Coach Kirstione is lucky to have you. And I know from
Absolutely.
what you say to me, he sees you as his right-hand man, and you were my right-hand man there also, you know, with being there every day on the offensive side of the ball. And then you just became an incredible, thoughtful, caring friend of mine that, you know, I can never, you know, thank you enough or repay you. So,
Yeah, well, I can't thank you enough. I mean, like you just talked about the script and it's about formations. I still use that to this day, you know,
Mhm.
and a lot of stuff that I learned and I use to this day came from you and your
Right.
organizational skills and how you conducted yourself, how you handled practice, how you handled players is something that I learned from you guys. And I use, like I said, to this very day.
Mhm.
And the fact that you allowing my kids, while they could until you got yelled at for it, but to be part of the program.
Mhm.
Like my kids were young, you know. My daughter like watched the only episode she watched was Abby's episode. I mean,
Right.
she's a college kid, you know, she's in
Right.
college, but my daughter looks up to Abby like you wouldn't believe. You know, my
Mhm.
kids still talk about her. You know, Anthony, the way he took Gavin in and you know, with his health issues and still to this day, Gavin's picture in his room is Anthony holding him like a kind of like a baby with the mohawk and
Right.
we talk about Volpe with the mohawk and driving him around and you know whether that's because of how great, and I think it is that, or it was just they were starting to become that old enough in life where they remember.
Yeah.
Right.
But Colts Neck is really what they talk about, and that
Mhm.
just bond with the players and the kids were great, and you know, and the coaches were great. Us going to Andel's house after they talk about, and it's just cool sitting at dinner and hearing those old stories,
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
good
and
stuff.
what they remember and what they love and
Mhm.
things like that, and you know, and again with that team, it's funny, again, managing a bar, a lot of those kids were ended up coming to work for me. You
Yeah.
know,
Great employees, great kids.
they were awesome, but I had Anthony, Wetzel, McGowan, you know, all of those
Right.
Volpe, all those guys at one point or another came in and worked, you know, and Wetzel's connection at Monmouth, he brought he brought those Monmouth linemen in, you know, and again, they still ask how my kids are doing or,
Right.
you know, reach out and things like that. It's just, it's a cool fraternity.
Absolutely.
And that I was just blessed and lucky. That was the year I came in with you guys, because
Mhm.
again, that was your year. You had built everything up to that. I was just lucky enough to fall in line with,
Well,
you
but
know,
you had a huge part in that, man.
yeah.
So
Well,
don't ever diminish your part in it, you know, and that's what I'm, you know, I know I speak for Tommy, you know,
Yeah,
we're forever grateful for you being part of it.
absolutely. I
yeah,
mean,
I thought
look,
I was good at my role.
listen, it picked up. It happened quickly, so it usually doesn't happen that quick in the first year. Like, you know, like when you and I connected, then it took off. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you were a vital part of moving forward. You know, after you know, I just thank God Derek made that suggestion.
Yeah,
You know,
without a doubt.
you
Yeah,
know.
So
because that would have been tough for that move.
I'm giving a shout out to Derek, you know, to thank him and acknowledge that if it wasn't him, for him, Jack wouldn't have never be part of this fraternity that we have and this family that we have.
Yeah, and I'll shout out to Pete Meehan that if it wasn't for him, I would have never met Derek, and I would have
Yeah,
never. And
crazy.
again, it's the connections
Yeah.
and the different things, you know, that the people that you
Yeah.
meet along the way.
All
So
right.
Jack, so tell us about you know, Greg and I have spoken, and also one of our previous guests, Chuck Welsh. We spoke about coaching our own kids on the team that we're coaching, and you know, so you had the opportunity to coach both of your sons at Donovan. And we were hoping that maybe you could, tell us about that. And of course, whether listeners know or not, I mean, the unfortunate, horrific injury that your son Gavin had in 2024, during a game, and I know how, horrific that was for him and for the family, for you, being his dad and his coach, so tell us about that. Tell us about how it came about that your kids went to Donovan and you coached them and what type of experience that was.
Yeah. So, again, watching you coach Abby and then, I know this was after the fact, but you guys finishing up with Luke at New Egypt. Listen, we put a lot of time in as coaches, and a lot of time away from our family sometimes has to sacrifice that for other people's kids, right? I mean, coaching takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So, to have an opportunity for your kids to coach your kids and be part of something that you put so much time in and missed maybe some of their stuff, some of their events, you try to get to everything, but sometimes you just can't. Yeah. And, they decided to come to Donovan. Again, I've been there 9 years. So, they were pretty young when I got there. I mean, Jaden was, I think, in 6th or 7th grade and Gavin was in 4th. So, they kind of grew up with the Donovan thing and they wanted to be a part of it. And I didn't force them. It was a choice they made. They both love lacrosse as well. My oldest has got a scholarship to Rutgers for it. And awesome. Donovan's lacrosse isn't as good or at the level of like Southern Regional where they've got. Mm-hmm. So they made the choice to come to Donovan to be coached, or for me to at least be part of their football journey. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was awesome. So yeah, Jaden came in and went through it. Again, what's great about Jaden is he plays linebacker, and we ended up moving him to fullback, but I'm the quarterback's coach and the offense coordinator. So I got to watch his be coached by other coaches and firsthand, but I didn't coach him, mm-hmm. which I think is good, mm-hmm. Because we were able to talk about things as a dad and son that, where I'm not the coach all the time, 24/7. So we're still able to have like a dad-son relationship. Gavin was, our backup quarterback and our Wildcat quarterback. So I worked with him a little bit more. In 24, Gavin, we're playing Jackson Memorial at Jackson. And we had scored on the same play with Gavin earlier in the game. And we're at the 5 and he took its QB read, power read, and he pulled it. And the DN just made a nice play coming down the line and got him in a certain way around his hips and kind of laid down. And it was a grass field. His foot got stuck. And, as a dad and the offensive coordinator being on the sideline and hearing the injury and then seeing it play out was hard. It was that was tough.
So it's probably if not the hardest thing you've ever had to experience.
Without a doubt. Not only because it's a gruesome injury, it's a contact sport. I've seen kids get hurt in our career. We all have, but that type of injury and it being your kid. Yeah. And again, what was really hard too was his brother was standing right there. His brother blocked on the play and seeing his reaction. And honestly, all the kids, Jackson kids, I mean, they're ripped their helmets off. Yes. There was a kid vomiting. Like it was traumatic, not just to me, to the Donovan kids, but the Jackson kids as well. And actually the athletic director there is our
Coach McLean.
Coach McLean from Greg,
mm-hmm.
from Colts Neck,
mm-hmm.
Who I gained a relationship with while being at Colts Neck with Greg in the weight room and stuff.
Right.
So he handled things great, but it was unfortunate. And I remember running out there The play wasn't even over, and actually I looked pretty fast on film getting out there. And
that's great.
Because I turned to Derek and Dan, and I said, bro, he just snapped his leg, and I just took off, and I get over him, and I'm like, bud, it's bad. And he goes, I don't know how you curse on it. And he goes, I fucking know it's bad. I heard it. Right. I'm like, all right. I'm like, but at that point he was good. And then, it was just, all he kept saying was, am I going to be able to play lacrosse? Am I going to be able to play lacrosse? And I'm like, bud, I don't know, but we're going to do everything we can to get you ready for lacrosse.
Yeah. Right.
And, it was a compound fracture, tib fib. So he wasn't feeling some stuff in his feet. So the doctor on site had to reset the bone to try to make sure there was blood flow to get feeling
at the field.
On the field.
Oh.
It just so happened that we played them at 3:00. It was the Jewish holiday. So, because we've done that at Colts Neck.
Yeah.
Where you got to play in the afternoon before sundown. Mm-hmm. So there was no ambulance there because the kids were just letting out of school. Like our kickoff and their buzzer for the end of the day was like simultaneous. So we were waiting for an ambulance. They're resetting this leg, and we're on the dirt and the grass, and they said that once that punctures, it's like a vacuum. You get a lot of crap in there. So get them to Jersey Shore. Doctor says, hey, you're going to be ready. Like we're going to put the rod in. You're going to be fine. And then woke up the next day and he was in a ton of pain and really swollen. And he got compartment syndrome, it's called. And it's when your muscles are traumatized so badly that the swelling cuts off the blood circulation and stuff. So they sliced both sides of his leg to relieve the pressure.
Wow.
And Alex Smith went through the same thing.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
So, and then they realized with the blood work, he had infections in there. And they had to keep cutting out the infection. And then the rod got infected. So they had to remove the rod, put an antibiotic rod in. And at that point, the doctor had said to us, like, this is getting bad. Like amputation we're not there yet, but this is something, we're trying to control this infection. So he went in for his 11th, 12th surgery. They were getting a handle on it. I mean, he was on 24-hour antibiotics, IV, heavy stuff. The one thing as a father I was worried about, and Tom, we can talk about it, but he was on so many pain medicines. You know what I mean? Because again, part of the healing is to try to keep him out of pain. And I've coached a long time, been around a long time. You hear all these things, and these teenage kids who have injuries or surgeries, and all of a sudden now they're on pain things. And, so my fear is like, all right, what are we doing here to him? And I met with the doctors and I met with the social worker. And they said, listen, right now we can figure that out down the road. Right now it's managing.
He needs pain relief. Yeah.
So they took that antibiotic rod out, which worked. They put the new rod back in, a thicker one. And, we were in the hospital, I think at that point for like 29 days. And they were going to transfer him to children's specialized to kind of teach him how to walk and do those types of things again. And so we went, we got transferred there. And again, Donovan Catholic, I got to tell you, they have block scheduling. Like it's like college, 4 and 4 midway through, you take your exams, got to do 4. The second week we're in the hospital, their academic team came, the principal came, and they said, listen, I don't want you to worry about his education. We got a plan in place. We're going to take care of it. Just worry about him getting help, healed up. Like,
they're good for them.
Don't stress about that right now, which I thought was awesome.
It is
incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah, incredible. And they did. They had a great plan in place, and they moved all his classes to downstairs. Now he got out. He went in October 11th. He got out December 16th, I believe it was. He was hoping for Thanksgiving. So his mental on that was rough. People reaching out. There are a lot of people who reached out. His lacrosse team they got guys reaching out, like professional guys and things like that. We're trying to give him, some encouraging words throughout this whole thing. Some of the New York Giants had reached out.
Wow. Yeah.
So there were some really, really great people out there that kept his spirits up. And I got to tell you what, Gavin, he never wavered. He never, like, even on the field, like when they were taking him, I said, look, I'm leaving. I'm going with you. And he just looked at me and he said, no, you're staying. Win the game.
Right.
I'll be fine. Go. And for him at 16 to say that, to me, that crushed me. Like, I was like, this he's a dude.
Yeah,
he's a man.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, like he's tough as nails. Like
tough as nails, man.
So so then he got out, and first thing he wanted to do was go to Donovan and see everybody. So they set up a parade for him.
Yeah, I remember seeing it.
Was really awesome. Yeah, it was great. And he and this whole time, Jaden, his brother, was again, we were coaching through this.
Yeah.
So Dan trying to keep the team together through that. Kind of being a handling Jaden for me, because I'm at the hospital.
A lot of your time is there.
Game planning, and Ron, my old line coach at that time, was helping me with the game plan. Like, a lot of people were big factors in it. And but Gavin never wanted me to stop coaching for a second. Like, it was important to him, and it was important to him to watch his team play. He watched every game on the internet. And it's funny because having two kids in the program at that time, I didn't know. My focus was on Gavin, and it kind of hurt Jaden a little bit. And Joe Zadalis did an article on Gavin and what had happened, and interviewed Jaden. And I learned more of how Jaden was feeling reading the interview. He opened up to Joe, the reporter, more than he opened up to myself or his mother. And we talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
I think he didn't want to maybe burden us with how he was feeling. But,
kids think that way. They don't, they didn't want to put more on your plate. And right. I'm sure that's probably how he was feeling,
100%, and he handled it unbelievably. It was hard, man. It was hard for him. And he was, for him, he had committed to Rutgers in September. So this was like an awesome time for him. And then this kind of happened in October. So, there was a lot going on. But even the Rutgers lacrosse people in Montclair, my daughter plays for Montclair State. They were awesome with my kids and just reaching out and things like that. I mean, people were just outstanding. And, it was probably the hardest thing, I had to go through as a coach. And as a dad, that was tough. And the players having to see that, they're never going to forget that day.
Right.
I'm sure even the Jackson kids, it's a tough injury. And what's funny is the guy from the Detroit Lions did it that same weekend on Sunday. He had the tidbit, the D lineman.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, man, Jack, thank you for sharing that. I had never heard that entire ordeal, and it's difficult for a person to even put themselves in that situation and imagine even going through it. Right. Wow. And all the support, that you described that you got. I'm really glad that we got into that, today. And, tell us how Gavin's doing.
Yeah. He's doing good, man. He, Jaden decided not to play football his senior year. I think, it definitely, took a little toll out of him and him committing to Rutgers. So they both went back to Southern. As great as Donovan was, it was, again, I never forced them to come to Donovan, and they made the decision together as brothers that they wanted to play. Gavin was going to rehab his tail off to try to get back on the lacrosse field this season. And they wanted to play one more year together. So they transferred back to Southern. Gavin is doing great. Better every day. He's playing lacrosse. So he took all last year off. It's been, I got to count the months, but how long he's played competitive high
Mhm.
school sports. So his first game's Thursday, and he's pretty stoked about it.
Awesome.
Wow.
He's earned a starting spot, I believe, on the Southern team, and they're very good. So he feels very good about himself and his progress. He's learning how to handle the injury, because they had to take the calf and kind of manipulate in a way to start the skin grafts and things like that. So he's just learning what he can do now a little bit differently than he did before.
Mm-hmm.
But mentally, he's so tough, and
He's a freaking warrior, man.
Yeah,
He's got
on the field.
he's got Nascimento blood, brother.
yeah, man, he is the toughest dude I know for sure. And he's just smiling all the time. Like, you would have been so proud of him, both of you, because the way he advocated for himself in the hospital
Right.
was like an adult. Like,
Right.
he wanted to know what they were putting into his body. All right, what am I doing this? And all right, what's the next step on this? Like, he was asking those questions. Listen, he had some really bad days and nights, pain. But
Yeah.
But and I'm proud of him for this. He before we left Children's Specialized, he said, I'm not going home with pain medicine. And I don't even want to say kicked it, because he wasn't addicted to it.
Right.
But he was able to
manage
the pain with Tylenol and Motrin, and be able to wean himself off the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Because he himself, he wasn't going to go down that road.
That's awesome.
It was to me, that alone is just incredible.
Yeah. And his pain tolerance too, man.
I mean, solid. But I mean, listen, it's a gladiator sport. We know that. We've coached a long time. We've watched football a long time. And to parents who are out there, that watch this, it's amazing how much support you have that you don't even realize you have when something like that happens, from family to coaches to, just, it's a fraternity that, everybody comes out of the woodwork. And, unfortunately, I can't name everybody, but there was, Greg was huge for me at night. I would text him or give him a call, just to kind of vent or whatever. And, just that type of stuff. But utilize everybody that you can, and don't be ashamed or afraid to lean on people when you need it. That's pretty much what I learned through all that, because people are good people, man. They are.
True.
Great people out there. And, and again, it's a gladiator sport, so you're always acting like you're a tough guy, man, but it's not, you don't have to be that. It's not.
No, it's a tremendous emotional connection and that you feel with your players and with your assistant coaches, and that those things that comes from being in the battles together,
right.
And it's unique. It's unique for sure.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Matt Walsh reached out to me, Coach Andel reached out, like, just a text. I mean, Coach Letts, but everybody, like, just threw a text out there, you know. Schulte from Rumson was huge.
Right.
I got to give him a little bit of a shout out, because he reached out right away. He was very supportive, and we ended up playing Rumson the week after this injury. And Mike Thomas, our really good player that year, he's playing at Rutgers now, had one of the most out of your mind type of games. He rushed for like 400 yards or something like that. He kept us in the ball game where, we weren't deep enough in town. Like, we weren't at the Rumson level that year. And it was a battle, but I remember before the game, Schultz, like, just everybody, referees, like, everybody was just so supportive. And it was ironic that the locker room was number 8 that we went into at Rumson, and that was Gavin's number. It was just weird stuff.
That's nuts, man.
It's pretty wild.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But definitely the toughest. But my kids love being a part of it. And again, like I said, they remember the Colts Neck days and all. And again, a lot of those Colts Neck kids reached out to me too as well. Like, again, what you developed there before I got there in the 1 year that I was there, what you built and how you made those kids, and the young men that they are right now, because some of them are married and having babies, from that team. And
don't remind us. That was don't remind us.
Well, the fact of the matter is, you being who you are is what connected them to you. You know what I mean? So, yeah,
Cool.
it's who you are, Jack.
It's a fraternity, man. It's pretty cool.
They know what type of person you are, and that's important. And you should take credit for that because
absolutely.
it was you. It was you.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So listen, man, like this has been really an awesome time. Jack, obviously I feel I know you a lot better. I knew it was going to happen, in 2 hours that we get to spend just talking about stuff. This is great. And so this was just a pleasure for me, to do this podcast with you. And I really appreciate knowing more about your history, and especially, like I said, since I live up here in Hazlet and I'm familiar with the area and all those stops that you did have, and it's quite unique experiences that you have, like we all do, but it's just so great to hear, from you and to know a little bit more about you. So it was awesome, man. Coach, how about Coach LaCava?
Yeah, I mean, I at the time when you are sitting there in 2013 making these decisions to meet a prospective coach, you never imagine what's going to happen in the future. Sure. But I mean, I could never have imagined the close relationship Jack and I have had way beyond the football field. We were there for each other in our worst of times together. And he was always someone that I connect with, personality. Jack's he's more of a I'm laid back, but one of the things with Jack is that we've spent many times together not saying a word to each other, and there's nothing better than that comfort level.
Yeah.
And but my point is that football was just the connection. The rest of the connection was because of who he is as a man, and that's more important to me.
Yeah. So, Coach, you have anything to say before we end?
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, thank you for giving me that shot in 13. And what you guys are doing here is awesome. Each week it's getting better and better. And you guys seem more comfortable.
Yeah.
It flows after a while.
To me, this is like us just kind of hanging out, drinking a couple of beers on a Friday and just shooting it up. So it was super comfortable. And, and again, to the people out there, like, it's all about connections, and it's just weird how everything intertwines and how things move and shake, and you get where you get, and the people and the paths you cross, and it's wild, man.
Yeah,
it's
wild. And thank you for forgiving me for being a nut job there in the beginning. I kind of don't remember 100% of that. A little bit I do. But you can appreciate the timing. So.
You're one of my favorite humans in the world, buddy. Kidding me? And your kids are, your kids are amazing. So
thank you. So are yours.
Two outstanding.
And so are Greg's. I mean, we're just very fortunate, the three.
Yes.
Of us.
Yeah.
All right. Cody and Luke as well, man. You kidding me?
Yep.
It's funny because Cody and Luke, Gavin and Jaden were the Cody and Luke after they were Cody and Luke, because that's the relationship my kids had with players, with the Colts Neck players before Gavin and Jaden, So, I mean, it's a huge connection, and it's bonds that'll never be broken. And those are the things we look back on fondly.
Yeah, no doubt. Great memories, man.
Without doubt.
So I'm gonna just end the broadcast now, okay, and then we'll stay on just for a minute more, okay. So, all right, guys, it was awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it, brother.
Guys, thank you.